Good afternoon, good evening, and good day to everybody, and also good morning to you folks out on the on the U.S. West Coast. I put the microphone closer. It's actually in frame, but the robot apparently thought that was too close. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on in the world. I did choose this shirt on purpose. So let's see. How do I want to get started today? Let's see. First, make sure everybody can hear me. It says that it's transmitting, but we've seen it live before. We've also seen me just go on for 5 minutes before anybody says, "Hey, we can't hear you." Um, so we're gonna start with some stuff from Drive Tesla Canada, and then we'll get into some anecdotes. Remind me to tell you about the guy with the 1,200-mile fuel tank. I'll believe that. So let's see. Let's start with this one. Let everybody get a chance to trickle in here. Oh, not that one. That other one would be like looking in a mirror. There we go. So this is coming from Drive Tesla Canada. Tesla fully ditches radar as Model S and Model X transition to Tesla Vision, which they already did quite a while ago for US Model 3 and Model Y. And now it's time for the new Model S and Model X, which tells us that Tesla feels comfortable with their Vision suite enough that they don't want to put the radar because the Vision is accurate enough. And from what I'm seeing, the last couple beta builds is doing all right. And let's see, Zapper Viper sends us a robot emoji. Okay, let's see. Um, so that one's all right. Let's go on to the next one here. Ah, there we go. Good evening from Stockholm. Hello, Anders. Oh, Zapper's got a crying robot now. I'm sorry. Did I pronounce your name wrong? All right, so coming up next, we've got some great news for Canadians. And of course, this is coming from Drive Tesla Canada. So let me get the share going. So you can now apply for the safety score, which is in order for you to get the FSD beta in Canada, which is super exciting because their system is not all that much different than ours. But it was different enough that Tesla didn't want to roll it out before now, which tells us that they are now comfortable with those differences. And once Canada is up and running, that then means that we will start to see this thing spread around the world wherever it's legal to do so. Not right away, obviously, but once they're comfortable with Canada, that gives them time to start folding all of this in, which I think is super cool. And we welcome our Canadian friends to the FSD beta. Well, right now, it's just the safety score, so Draft Tesla Canada wrote up an article on how to get a 100 safety score. Uh, the easiest way is drive very smoothly. You don't want any hard acceleration. Well, hard acceleration doesn't even matter. You don't want any hard braking or hard cornering, and you don't want to be following too closely. So basically, if I'm above 45 miles an hour, sorry, I should do it in kilometers, but I don't. If I'm above 45 miles an hour, then I've got the either the smart cruise on or I've got auto steer turned on because it's very easy to get a following too close once you cross over the 45 mile an hour threshold. And the other thing is we talked about hard braking, and it's really just about driving smoothly. A lot of folks joke that it feels like driving like a geriatric. It kind of is. It kind of is. But you also want to make sure you're looking ahead to plan your stops because if you use the regen, then it doesn't hurt you. But if you use the brakes, pretty much anything with the brakes counts as hard braking. And so they'll put a link to, I think this is Darren's article. Let's see, what does it say? Yeah, it's Darren's article. I'll put that in the chat here. Welcome aboard. Coming up next. This one I actually got as a message in my Tesla app, which didn't make sense because I was actually already on the correct version when that happened. But whatever. So You want to update to Tesla software update 2022.4 by today, which was February 22nd, or you would lose connectivity features, which, at least in the US anyway, which is because AT&T was upgrading their network to get rid of the protocols that Tesla was using at the time, and you also wanted to have upgraded your uh, communications module to LTE from 3G, or yeah, it was only 3G before here as well because they were phasing out the 3G network as well. This morning, my car didn't have any signal when I rebooted it and it came back. I don't know if that was related to anything or not because it was working all through the 22nd. So if you haven't already updated and you don't have any connection to your car, this is why. Just do the update. I understand you might not like the new UI. You'll get used to it. Or you can do Wi-Fi for everything. You can tether your car. I've got a video on that here. Let me see if I can't find it. Let's see. This is a really old video. I've got a newer one, but this one's short, so let's do the short one. So that's how you keep Tesla Wi-Fi on while driving. And it doesn't matter that it's the old interface because if this is a problem for you, you're already on the old interface. It still works on the new one, but you have to be in park on the Model 3 and Model Y and new S and X for that to happen. On a legacy car, you can still do this at any time. All right, so let's close that before I get distracted. And let's go on to another article. All right, so this one I didn't read. I'm reacting to it. But if it is what I think it is, it's super exciting. Somebody was tweeting at Elon about track mode if they purchased the acceleration boost. And uh, yeah, that's exactly what this is. So now my next question, complaint, is how about the other folks with non Model 3s and performance models get track mode, Elon? Come on. Because the acceleration boost doesn't cost as much as a performance car. Anders is asking, is their mobile network working properly without 3G? It is. It is. If you have an LTE module, it will talk in LTE. If you only have 3G, then they've cut you off. The newer computers have a capability for 5G. I don't know that they are actually using that, or that even if it specifies 5G anywhere on it. I think they're just vanilla LTE at the moment. Engineerix was doing a teardown, and he explained some of that, as well as Green the Only was doing some software teardowns, and he found some stuff about 5G as well. So this is exciting for anybody who's purchased the acceleration boost. It's not cheap, but it is cheaper than a performance car. So that's why I want to see it on the performance cars as well. All right, so let's close this. And this one was news to me. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. Uh, Tesla was looking at doing a second identical Gigafactory to Giga Berlin. But with the way that Germany has been treating them with the initial Giga Berlin, those plans have been put on hold. And as Patrick and Mark and myself have all stated, there's plenty of other countries in Europe that might want the business. So if Germany wants to participate, they're gonna have to get on the ball. And I understand that they probably don't want to get on the ball because they've got all of their German automakers that are secretly pulling the strings to make them run as slow as they are. But it's going to be their loss because, like I said, there's plenty of other EU countries that want this business, and they will do it. All right, so we talked about the acceleration boost. I don't know why it came up again. That's okay. And then this one was fun. Tasmanian found that Tesla had patented energy absorbing castings for single piece casting. Because right now they're looking at a front casting and a rear casting for the Model Y. And then with the structural battery pack, that allows them just, why not just cast the whole thing at one time? And once you do that, though, you still need to make sure it's crashworthy. So they've patented a method of allowing the car to absorb and redirect the collision energy as appropriate while also being repairable to an extent. So obviously, if it's enough to bend the whole frame, then you want to total that car anyway. But if if it's like a fender bender or something, you want to be able to repair that. And so they got it set up so that the Tesla authorized repair centers can work with them to get your car repaired if it's not deemed a total loss, which is really cool. There we go. And I don't know if we did this one or not last week. I think we did, but I don't know for sure. I know we did it on the Tesla Live show. But over at Gigafactory Texas, or as I like to call it, Terra Texas, they had a bunch of cars under car covers, over 100. And we'd speculated perhaps they were dust covers, because they don't seem like they are shipping covers, seeing as how you can't see out the window. And you kind of need to be able to see out the window to load it and offload it from the trucks and trains. And I just don't see the truckers having the time in their schedule to cover and uncover a car over 16 times. Assuming it's a full load, they can only do 8 Teslas. They can't do 10 because of the weight. Uh, and if they aren't careful, there's a chance they could get grit and sand and dust in the cover, which would then scratch the paint further. So I think, yeah, you could summon, but the problem with summon, as it is for the owners, is it's got an incline limit. So if you go over too much of a slope, it'll just quit. But maybe while it's in factory or transport mode, they could loosen that up a little bit. That's a good idea. The ultrasonic sensors, they might work. Cut out holes for the sensors, yeah. There you go. All right, so let's see. Let's get into some of the some of these here. Let me pull these up. These ones are coming from the Book of Face. At least that's where I got the articles in this case. I prefer to get them from Twitter or straight from the source, but it happens. All right, so that one. Oh, this one was pretty cool. So right now, a lot of folks are complaining about gas prices, and our solution as EV people is to tell them, why don't you get an EV? And then they're like, oh, they're expensive. Well, they don't have to be. I mean, yeah, the one everybody wants is expensive, but what you want and what you can afford aren't always the same thing. So, Inside EVs has compiled a list of the cheapest EVs with over 250 miles of range. Uh, they say there are more long range EVs on the market than ever, but are there any at affordable price tags? And well, it's not the actual headline, so Betteridge's law doesn't actually apply there. It's in the byline, or not the byline, the subhead. The answer is still yes, whereas Betteridge's law would say that since they're asking a question in the headline, the answer is no, but it's not the headline. So let's see what they've compiled here at Inside EVs for affordable long range EVs. So obviously that Mazda is not going to be on there with its 100-mile range, brand new in 2022. It is affordable, but I cannot recommend 100-mile range unless you have dialed in your use case for this car and you really like, as my Canadian friends would say, Mazda. All right, so the cheapest crossover that they found is the 2022 Volkswagen ID4 Pro, which is a very nice car. I see them driving around town here, and I've had a chance to peek at them from a distance and also watch the reviews online. And I like what I see. To the point I keep calling this thing the Camry of EVs because it's inoffensive, it's affordable, it's reliable, and it's not all that quick, but it'll get the job done. It's not slow, but it's not. It's most of the EVs on the market. They tend to have a little bit of a sprightliness to them, and this and the Toyota do not. There's an actual Toyota EV. Will the dealer let you at the door at MSRP? So that is the hard part right there. My friend Sergio, he has a technique for dealing with these folks, and he's also willing to travel. So he was looking at a vehicle recently, and people asked him, "Why are you going all the way out there?" And he said, "Well, one, this Nowheresville Farmville dealer has a surplus. They've got three of them in the colors I want, and they already don't charge an MSRP, and they understand that he's coming from a distance, so they're willing to sweeten the deal a little bit, which is nice. So it will take some homework to make sure that you get out the door at a reasonable price. Uh, the way it is with the dealer networks. When I was selling cars, I was always on the internet, so I would always try to make sure that all of my people's paperwork was buttoned up and ready to go. There were a couple times at a couple different stores where the manager got a wild hair about them and wanted to start changing stuff. And I think only one of those customers that were on the side of that actually bought the car. Everybody else, where they didn't change anything, everything was agreed to. They looked at the car, it was as promised. They signed the paperwork, they went home, in and out in an hour. But then when you start going all the back and forth and the haggling, and it's you don't want to do all that. This is the modern age, which is why I like the Tesla experience because you go online on your phone, pop, 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 and then you drive away in the car. In this case, about a year later, but back when I bought mine, it was much closer of a lead time for custom order. Except for my Model 3 order, that one took 2 years and 30 minutes, or 3 years and 30 minutes. Either way, it was one or two. It was 2 or 3 years and 30 minutes from when I put the order in to when it showed up. So there's the ID4, the cheapest luxury car. They call this a luxury car, and I'm guessing they're going by materials and buttons and features like that. They're saying it's the 2022 Polestar 2 motor at 46.9. Not bad. That one also got good reviews. The cheapest sedan. Hey, look at that! The Tesla Model 3 at 44,990. So if you don't want to haggle and you got some time to wait, just dial up one of these. You can also get used cars from Tesla too. This period is the 2022 Hyundai Kona Electric at 34,000. Sandy didn't have a lot of nice stuff to say about this car. My understanding is it doesn't actually have a frunk, and the trunk space is limited utility. But as a second car or as a primary like commuter car, those things might not matter. Especially if you're a family of one or three. Let's see. I wouldn't want anybody changing anything. Yeah, exactly. That's why as soon as it happened, these people walked out the door. I'm sitting there telling the manager, like, you cannot do this. This person agreed 3 weeks ago. This is how it's going to be. They've signed. They put a deposit down. You cannot change it. And they're like, watch me. And I'm like, watch them walk away. They come in. The manager's sitting there with me. Hey, blah blah blah. Excuse. And the customer sits right back up and walks out the door every time. It only happened a couple times, but like I said, it was multiple stores, multiple managers. I don't know what it is about that situation. They felt it was fine to change it. So there are three really good choices. You've got the Hyundai Kona, which is it's got a good warranty. It's affordable. It'll do the job. We've got the Model 3, which we know is phenomenal. And then the Polestar, which is, like I said, is getting great reviews. So that's actually four choices. And as I call it, the Camry of EVs, the Volkswagen ID4. This one, they went with the Pro trim. Not bad. I wonder if they went with the Pro to meet that range requirement that they put in the article. I would say probably so. All right, so then this one, kind of cool. I skimmed it, so I didn't actually read this one. The YSE study finds that I think it was Yale School of the Environment finds that the electric vehicles provide lower carbon emissions through additional channels, which is pretty cool because we already knew that upfront, just consuming a fuel, that the EVs are cleaner, and we also knew that after a very short time from construction to the first few thousand miles, that they then cement their lead as the cleaner car. But Yale found that they actually do it through other ways as well, such as this format is different. I read it on the phone. Such as decarbonization of the electricity supply, because look at how many owners actually own solar panels, which is pretty cool. Or if your power company allows you to buy alternate sources, you can buy in wind credits or solar credits, geothermal, And I'll give you guys a link to the blurb here, and you can read it at your leisure. There we go. And Anders is saying that in Sweden, the diesel price is at 22.5 SEKs, or $9.11 a gallon for 95 octane, or $8.09 per gallon. Oh, okay, I see. $9.11 for diesel, or $8.09 for 95 octane. That's wow, that's stout. I thought the folks in California were complaining. They're getting close. They are. Eddie shared a picture with us. Let me grab that now before I forget. I think it's no, it's not that one. Maybe it's this one. It was this one. Let's take by private conversations. There we go. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Share screen. So Eddie found this photo. He's not exactly sure where in California this is, but we're looking at $6 and a quarter and 9 cents a penny for a regular, and super is just scraping at $7 to the gallon at 6.759. Wow. So that brings me to what I was talking about. The guy who claims that his car can do 1,600, his truck can do 1,600 miles on one tank of diesel. Let's see, you have so cheap prices in the U.S. We do, we do. So this guy claims that his truck can do 1,600 miles on one fill, and he's like, "Let me know when your electric car can do that, and oh, also when they can win the Cannonball Run." And so my response was that several Teslas, and a Porsche have already done the Cannonball Run and done just fine. I don't know that you want to say won the Cannonball Run because they actually break it up into fossil versus electric, and the Porsche is now leading in least amount of charge time on the route for Cannonball Run, thanks to my friend Wayne Curtis. And I said, all right, let's sit down and do the math on a 1,600-mile journey because I like to go to the restroom, I like to eat, stretch my legs. So I said, all right, let's look at 1,600 miles. In fact, let's do this together. Let's pull up my calculator, and then we'll share the calculator screen, application. Hopefully, I didn't just crash the computer. Nope, good. Okay, so 1,600 miles. And I said, okay, let's magically assume that you can do a generic highway speed limit of 60 miles an hour the whole time. That's 26 hours of driving with no traffic. I don't know about you, but I like to sleep every day. And as I said, I like to go to the bathroom a couple times, I like to eat a few times. So I'm not interested in doing 2,600 miles straight. Or sorry, 26 hours straight on little, actually 26 and a half, really. 6.6 for feeding. This guy claims he's doing that, and I'm calling bull, obviously. Because, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that it's stupid unlikely because you're looking at over a day of just driving, and the amount of times I stop to go to the bathroom and the length of times I stop to go to the bathroom and get food is the amount of time the car takes to supercharge. So it's not an inconvenience for me to stop the car. And I can always, except for Texas and California, I can always get out of whatever state I'm in if I supercharge before a disaster hits. So I'm not at all concerned about a super long range. And there's also the fact that you can hypermile these things as Wayne showed with the Porsche as well, because you can do two people switching off, but is it that important to not be stopped? I mean, are we delivering hearts here? And if we are, why don't we send them on a plane? I'm just saying. And then the cannonball run was what told me that he was trying to move the goalpost so far that he could keep saying, "Oh, EVs will never work." But I've got over 60,000 miles on my Model X. I had over 60,000 miles on my Model S, and I've done at least 25 to 50,000 miles on Tesla-owned vehicles like loaner cars and demo cars and that sort of thing. And then there are my two Volts. Each Volt had the first Volt had about 46,000 miles on it when I sold it back, and then the second Volt, it was pushing 60,000 miles as well. And electric works. I don't understand the resistance. I get they don't understand it, but it's I would much rather stop every now and again than to deal with that. Ah. I'm trying to get my hands in the screen and point at the picture. It's not working. I got a mouse. Then deal with that. There we go. What about you guys? In fact, I should probably put a poll on that. I don't know how to do a poll for what I want to ask. So just sound off in the comments. What's gas looking like for you, and how long have you been electric, or how soon do you plan to go electric if you haven't already? Uh, yeah, exactly. Volt. The car GM got right, so they killed it. I'm hoping that the only reason they killed the Volt was because they killed the Cruise, and they shared a platform. But I I'm glad they brought the Bolt out, and then they suffered from the LG stuff. But oh, did we talk about Chrysler? Chrysler is having the same situation. I think we did with the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid as the other LG vehicles with Hyundai and Kia and both Bolts. So hopefully they don't continue the same playbook. They started with the whole don't plug in the car, don't park it near the house, and we've all seen this playbook. So hopefully they don't follow it to the T again. Texas is a Texas is an issue in a loss of electricity emergency. If you lose energy on the west side of the state, there won't be any on the east side. But at the same time, knowing that there's an incoming heat wave or cold snap, I would charge up to full, and that would give me about 300 miles. And at the same time, if I can't charge, they can't run the gas pumps. There will be some stations that have generators, but good luck finding one with a generator that still has fuel, because once people realize they can still pump gas, they're going to just crowd it out. Um, Texas would be harder, but at the same time, I would hope that 300 miles is enough range to get out of the issue, especially given the amount of superchargers that are battery backed. But we'll see if it ever comes down to that. The reliability of the Volt was stellar. I mean, I know very few people have actually changed the battery pack on that for age. There were a couple warranty swaps. Mine had the battery taken out to stiffen it up because when they crash tested it, they would crash test it with a full battery, rotate it over, I think, 4 hours of rolling it, and then they would stick it out in the junkyard, and then 4 days later it would catch fire. So my stance at the time was always that if you're stuck in your car for 4 days, you've got a much bigger problem when it catches fire. But what they did was they stiffened the frame of the car such that if you did get a side impact, such as the one that they did for the crash test, uh, after they did the regular crash test, they took a battery out of the car and crashed it by itself, rolled it over for 4 hours, and then shoved it in the junkyard for 4 days and caught fire as well. But so what they did was they put this bracing around the car to send any crash energy over the battery and to the other side of the car rather than through the battery, and that seems to have helped. Electric Model 3 long range, but I need a 4x4 for sand location. So waiting on a Cybertruck. I agree. I am looking forward to the Cybertruck. I have seen people take the Model X out in the sand. It is all-wheel drive, but you got to be mindful of what tires you have on and their inflation level, because I've seen folks go sand driving in the Model X successfully, and I've seen people get stuck in the sand because when you've got the rubber band 22s on there, it just doesn't do all that well in loose dirt. All the ones I've seen do it successfully were either hard packed sand or they were on 20s and they had let a little bit of air out of the tires. Yeah. All right, so let's move on from this gas photo and the Yale study to talk about politicians. Politicians doing their thing. Tesla's asked fans in Oklahoma and Mississippi to fight new bills to ban direct sales of electric cars. And I think one of them also banned servicing as well, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, we've done this before, as not just for Tesla, but particularly for them. And let's see, old laws that are done differently. So in Oklahoma, the Business and Commerce Committee is considering House Bill 3994, which would prevent any automaker from operating a service or deliveries of cars, regardless of if they've never had franchises before. So this is new, and obviously it's directed at Tesla, Rivian, and whoever comes after them, like Lucid. Tesla argues the bill could even force Tesla to shut down its location in the state. If passed, this bill could force Tesla to close its existing locations in Oklahoma and prevent Tesla from shipping cars to anyone in the state, which would force locals to travel out of state to service their cars and pick up new Tesla vehicles. Oklahoma should focus on increasing revenue and jobs in the state, not stifling competition and limiting consumer choice. Oh, but what about the Little League? Well, Tesla actually does sponsor some Little Leagues, so you can't even use that anymore. And Mississippi, Tesla only operates one store. They faced a similar effort with Senate Bill 2836 last month and have asked fans to oppose it. That one is not looking like it's going to survive their Senate Finance Committee. But we've seen them come back and, just tweak a couple things and just come roaring through. So just because you're winning right now doesn't mean you don't need to stop applying pressure on your politicians to stop being stupid. That's all I have to say about that one. So we talked about this one on the Tesla Live show. Tesla is moving the Santa Monica drive-in theater roller skate restaurant supercharger Hollywood because after all of the time that they took to get that one approved, uh, it looks like Tesla was just done with any modifications. They just wanted to get it done, get it put up, and they were also asking them to put up low-cost housing apartments. And as Mark stated last I checked, Tesla doesn't build apartments, so it would be kind of interesting. I was thinking perhaps maybe they were expecting them to put housing over the restaurant, and then it came to me about the pizzeria. The people who lived over the pizzeria was burned down twice. It's like I wouldn't want my house over something particularly flammable, personally. All right, and then yeah, we talked about the acceleration boost. Let's see, where did we go with this thing here? I shouldn't have scrolled around. That's what I shouldn't have done. Okay, we talked about Yale. Oh yeah, this is another fun one. Let's talk more about politicians. And then when we get done talking about politicians, we'll talk about global politics. But we won't get into it. It'll be interesting. I'll find a way. So this one was even worse than the Oklahoma or Mississippi and Oklahoma. So West Virginia wants to ban Tesla and others from sending over-the-air updates to customer cars, which I mean seriously, they want you to have to come into the dealership because this is who it's for. It's for the dealerships. It's not to get them to plug in your car to do the updates. And the only updates that they'll allow over the air are for the infotainment center and navigation systems, which I like what Auto Innovators wrote here. Rather than leveling the playing field between dealers and manufacturers, the bill would drastically alter the rights and obligations of automotive manufacturers and their franchise dealers in West Virginia. Many of the proposed changes would benefit dealers, but would ultimately impose cost and inconvenience on the citizens of West Virginia. Auto Innovators has identified specific concerns and issues with House Bill 4560, which, if enacted, would have impacts far beyond dealer manufacturer relationship. Auto Innovators and their members would appreciate the opportunity to appear before the House Judiciary Committee to discuss these concerns in further detail and answer any questions committee members may have related to House Bill 4560. Which, so if you have an iPhone, you got to go to the Apple Store and get it updated. And you have a computer running Windows, no matter who made it, you got to drive over to uh, what was left of the Microsoft Store to get your updates. Come on, guys, just because you don't like change doesn't mean that you can actually stop it. These politicians, like, if, they used to have a committee in Washington, which was, I believe it was called the Technology Commission, and it would teach the legislators about the tech before they voted on it. This ended in the Clinton at the end of the Clinton era. They closed this committee down, and it's never been operated since. But that made sense to me. Like if they don't know how a cell phone works, hey, here's a cell phone. Here's how it works. We'll teach you all about it, and then you can vote on it, rather than, oh, it's gonna hurt your brain. I don't know. The eats the sun. Yeah. Uh, Come on, guys. So I'm guessing from what I read of excerpts of the proposed bill, is that the auto industry wrote this bill for them, and then they just rubber stamped it. Let's vote on this. And exactly, David. This is such Luddite dealer lobby pandering. Exactly. And I don't know what the solution is to this, other than obviously keep your eyes open, watch for this tomfoolery, and be ready to make your voice heard when they try some nonsense. I sound like such an old man cussing the fuddy duddies. But I try to keep it clean on here, so they drive me to do this, don't they? So, speaking of that, brings us to what's going on in overseas right now. And let me pull up the video before I start talking about it. I want the. All right, so here's what the thumbnail looks like. It's from real life lore. He's saying what Russia wants in their invasion of Ukraine. Uh, he focuses mostly on one aspect of it, and he put up a really good point that it's for the petrochemical economy part of it. Ukraine has a good amount of territorial waters that have natural gas, a lot of it, and Russia, their economy isn't actually doing so great. I mean, they're kind of coasting in on what they have, and they make a lot of their GDP from selling fossil fuel stuff to Europe and the rest of the world. And let me just put a link to his video in here so you can watch it later, and you guys can tell me either on the channel or on social media what you guys think about his theory about at least the fossil fuel aspects of it all. I mean, there's clearly whatever the dude says about, oh, it's Mother Russia, blah blah blah. When I was a kid, this was all one place, blah blah blah. But when you look at it and you see how much oil there is, and you know how these old people think about, nothing against old people, but these particular old people pulling the strings, all about the money, they can only seem to think in fossil fuels, and there is still a lot of money in it right now, but it is dropping fast as more and more countries and people stop using as much fossil fuels, and all of this will be for moot, and they'll have had what they wanted, but we'll look back on it and say, you did this for some black stuff out of the ground, huh? Yeah. So let's see. Robert said that they have Ask doing the locking down self service here on the car and the PC. Yeah, that's another place where right to repair comes in. Is that you own several thousand pounds of metal? Why should it still belong to Cat and John Deere? Why shouldn't you be able to service your own equipment? I understand the whole safety aspect, but then do certifications. Robert says that prefab houses like I live in house easier to put up. Yeah, I like the idea of the flat pack house and a lot of the other. I don't want to say manufactured because that sounds like trailer homes, but the like the structurally insulated panels, the walls and roofs that are already pre-configured. You just drop them on site. They save a lot of resources because when you're going and building a house one at a time versus if you build the whole thing in a factory and then just stand up the walls, put on the roof, and then finish the interior, there's a lot less waste with that a lot of times. The Wood says Texas politics was my earlier point. I'm sure that EVs can traverse Texas. Texas politicians remove the national grid connections, making major outage statewide instead of regional. Absolutely, and that's why I was thinking it'd be hard for them to recover if they were down in a 300-mile radius. That would mean that the whole, like you said, the whole half of the state would be dark because they don't have connections, and and even with Elon and Tesla dropping massive batteries all over the state, just like California, they've still got these really old transmission lines that have the bare minimumest of the fairest minimum of maintenance done to them. Like they have power lines in California that are older than my grandfather, and they haven't done any maintenance to some of them, and that's why there's light in your forest on fire. And Texas, is a very similar situation. £8.50 a gallon here. Ouch. Is that a British gallon or a U.S. gallon? Is the next question. Not that there's that much of a difference at that price. Exactly, David. Russia attacking Ukraine is another good reason to end the world petroleum economy. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, and it made sense when this was how we powered everything. But now we're finally on. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We've got a ways to go. Like Norway still got another year or two before they're done, but they are the furthest along on this as far as passenger cars, buses. Uh, they're working on their trucks right now. That's probably going to take an additional 2 years on top of that. But it's going to be we're at the bottom of the S curve, and it's gonna take all these petroheads by surprise. They're going to wake up one morning and almost nobody's going to want their stuff, and they're going to be freaking out. I do want to point out that it does take some time to rotate. If we could snap our fingers and overnight every factory that makes cars today was making EVs, it would take 10 to 15 years before the majority, like you look around and it'd be surprising to see a gas car. But if we can just transition a bunch of the new cars, then we can start this ball rolling, which is the important part. All right, so we've talked about real life lowers theory, and I kind of agree with it. And then this one was interesting to me. This one's coming out of Atlanta. The Atlanta Journal Constitution is reporting that convenience stores want assurances before they install car charging stations. So this is another one of those protectionism schemes like we have with the dealers versus the direct sales, but uh, the convenience store owners want to put in EV chargers, but they want to make sure that the power company isn't going to stand up an EV charger right next to them, as we see here. This is a Georgia power station, and yeah, I can understand if I spend a couple tens of thousands of dollars putting in a fast charger or several level two chargers, and then the power company came and sets them up right next to me. That would suck. I mean, it'd be great for the customer to have a choice, but then that investment that I just made would be gone. So I understand where they're coming from, but I don't know that I want to get into another one of these situations like we have with the dealers where you've just cemented in something for life. Maybe give them like a radius or something, because there's got to be a way that everybody can come out of this amicably without without forgetting about the consumer, because really that's who you're trying to service with all of this, whether you be the power company or you be the person uh, running the establishment, the mall, the convenience store, the grocery store that the folks are coming to visit. But as a consumer, man, I am glad to see power stations popping up everywhere. I don't know. What do you guys think about this situation here? About the convenience store owners wanting some protection from the power company? Oh yeah, let's put a link to this here too. Here you go. Close that one down for now. And while we're speaking of chargers, Michigan is going to get 200 more EV chargers, of which 100 will be fast chargers by 2024, which isn't bad. Although I hope that these are sites and not units, because 200 units in 2 years is pretty pathetic. But 200 sites in 2 years is phenomenal. So let's see what they say here. Understand solar's free service. Da, 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 da. So their goal is to get to uh, see, natural gas accounted for 33% of the state's net generation, while coal's share declined to 27%. That's another group of people that's freaking out about the loss of their status as the coal industry. They're dropping like flies worldwide. Even in places like Korea, well, North Korea they probably find, and China, and even especially here in Appalachia. Yeah, so they're just letting you know that their EV chargers are going to be green, and so you can head off all the people like, oh, but you're just burning fossil fuels, you're just moving it. Even if that was the case, you're moving the tailpipe to one single controlled tailpipe versus a million uncontrolled tailpipes. You can make a power plant greener. You cannot make 100,000 cars cleaner after they go out there burning gasoline or diesel. In fact, on the way back here today, I was following this newish looking Ford truck, and it has a big blue. It looked like it was doing coal rolling, except that he was doing like no speed and the engine was not revving. And I didn't push the biohazard button in time. You could just smell that raw burnt diesel. It was gross. So what I did was pass him, which is hard to do in traffic, but I passed him, and then I rolled my windows down to let out all the air and get some non partially burned diesel air in my car. It was gross. Yes, that was a little tangential. I realize. Oh, here we go. David says stores that sell gas anywhere except highways will have a problem with as EVs. We all have our pumps in our houses, so local convenience stores and gas stations will be dead. I think that's a very real possibility, because unless you have a bunch of multifamily housing near your station, then as you said, there's going to be everybody's going to have their own charging, and if it's say like in England, you have the light sockets that you can plug yourself into the light pole, uh, then even multifamily might not be an issue with on-street parking. So they're going to have to change their model, if you like you said, if they're off of the main path, unless people in their town just do lots of errands over 100 miles in a day, because only the people with multifamily or really old houses that they don't want to retrofit would be needing the local charging. You're right. So that is a concern, and even more so if like the Georgia Power situation is going on. The power company, if they're smart, which sometimes they are, other times they're just greedy, uh, they will then want to assist you with installing EV charging in your home. Hey, how would you like to stop going to the supercharger once a week? How would you like to just wake up and have a fully charged car in your 1800s era home? Well, we can hook you up with a charger for a small fee, just like they used to subsidize light bulbs and appliances to get you to buy electricity or even gas at the time. And I can see them doing that. And you're right. That would make anybody who's not on a major travel route have to think even more about it. However, there are certain places where it would make sense: movie theaters, grocery stores, hair salons, places where you're going to spend an hour or so. Just they would probably still stand a chance putting in some level twos or even a slower level three because the people are already going to be there. But they'd have to do it like some of the grocery stores are doing with the Volta chargers or etc., where it's free because or free for a certain amount with purchase because again, if you've got it at home, then I'm not going to pick one grocery store over another unless for charging unless it was free or next to free, like cheaper than I can get at home. So if I could go to the grocery store and I'm paying 12 cents a kilowatt hour at home and my solar's off for whatever reason, and they offer me 5 cents a kilowatt hour while I shop, that would be an incentive. I would consider that. They don't seem to get the concept of narrowing down tailpipes. No, they don't. A lot of it's excuses because they don't want to change anything. Entropy. Once CO2 is out in the tailpipe, collecting it back is a foolish approach. Absolutely. Absolutely. Most people have to park on the road here. Yeah, I think that's why you guys have those lamppost adapters, which I think are really cool. It does mean that you have to remember to bring your own cable, though, for some stations. But at the same time, it also means that those particular stations are going to be less susceptible to copper thieves, like we saw, was it 2 weeks ago, where all the brand new supercharger cables were cut? So we've got another new one here. Oops, all the right buttons. So SpaceX is donating a retired, click the button, donating a retired Starship to a local Texas airport, according to Elon, which I think is pretty cool. In a brief Twitter exchange, looks like Brownsville South Padre Island International Airport, BRO. That's a cool airport name, bro. uh, I usually refer to airports by their tag rather than to their actual name because I'm a nerd like that. So BRO is going to get themselves a retired Starship. That is really cool. Elon said, "Sounds good. We'll send one over." Let's click on the tweet here and see exactly the exchange that went down for that. All right, so South Padre says, or sorry, Space Padre says, would be cool to have a Starship in a public rocket garden for SpaceX fans. Maybe the entrance to the island or somewhere. Yes. If South Padre or Brownsville would like a Starship prototype, we can send one over. It's better than tearing them apart and recycling the steel, I guess. Maybe near Bro Airport, since that services both communities. Bro says, we're ready for it and have a great location to display it at Starship Road. Where do we sign? All right. See, this is the kind of stuff I like about like this is like good Elon Twitter, like versus when he's making people mad left and right. So they showed they showed where they want to put it. They put it on a map. That is really cool. And let's see. Elon says, "Sound good. We'll send one. Sounds good. We'll send one over." A great example of a public-private partnership. This also reminds me of there were a couple of aircraft carriers that folks wanted to save, and they didn't raise enough money to found a museum that could take care of them into for the foreseeable future. So the Navy sold them for a penny for scrap, and this doesn't have that same level of needing to make sure it carries profit and that it doesn't come back on them situation because the airport's going to be around for a while. But that's the reason that those aircraft carriers were not able to be donated is because they would end up being a problem for the Navy again in under 10 years with the amount of money that was raised. So that's really cool. So let's see. Somebody says nice info. Thank you. 150 meters to the road. Yeah. Is Starship body less fuel strong enough for long term display in a windy environment? That's a good question. Are they going to fill it up with like water? Well, I guess that might rust it. I mean, stainless doesn't rust as well as regular steel, but it does corrode. They might just tie it down, and if it's just the Starship and not the Starship stack, then the wind might not be that much of an issue for it if they do it correctly. We'll see. I'm curious now that you brought that up. All right, why do I have this guy's tweet? That must be for me later. I didn't load all the articles up at once today. The computer was complaining. All right, this one was fun to me. This one was the kilowatts was out doing what they do when they're not renting their cars out. They were collecting spy shots from the ground, and they spotted several Model X's featuring the new charge port door design in the Fremont factory, logistics lot. So here we can see it's very Model 3 styled, very much like we saw on the Model S plaid the other day. And then we saw a couple of Model S's with body colored applique on the back. But then we saw some ones with the black again. So we're not sure if Tesla's trying something out or what's going on with that. So here you can see this is what my car has. These are both plaid Model X's, or at least long ranges, but they're the new ones, the refreshes. So this is what mine has. It has this this triangular flap cutout thing. Obviously, this one's the dead side, but on the driver's side there would be a motor and a charge port door behind it. But the opposite still has it, even though there's nothing behind it. It's fixed. So then this is the old one, and here's the new one. And so you can see that whole piece flips up just like on the Model S, and now on the Model 3 and Y as well, of course. And then you can see the new taillight design. I'm glad they kept that Model X shape about it, because I like having my turn signals and brake lights down here and having them change colors than having them up here. So old, new, new, old, and let's put them side by side again. I think that's pretty cool. So it looks like they literally just kind of fit it in the same space. So they just redesigned it, and I think that's really cool, because the less you have to redesign the metal, the less expense you're putting into it. All right, so here's a close-up of one as it's headed out for delivery. Looks like it's clearly headed to the U.S. market, given the shape of its plastic plate holder. EU and APAC have plate holders that are noticeably wider. Yeah, because they have wider plates. All right, so here's it from the rear. So from the rear, it doesn't look that much different other than having that smoky appearance. And then from the side, you can see it very clearly. It flips up and not out. So this is another possibility that's coming up. They might be putting CCS in there, because like in China, you have the Tesla connector and the Chinese connector, and they're kind of close to each other, but kind of staggered in there, and they fit. And the Chinese connector is very much the size of a CHAdeMO connector. So that would mean that you could fit a CCS and a Tesla 2 connector in there. And I think that would be fun. And it would also explain how they plan to do the opening of the network in the US. I don't think that these ones coming out now are going to be CCS connectors, but I think opening this up gives them that opportunity. But the real reason they're probably doing that is they're getting ready to open up the overseas deliveries. And it really helps if you just have one opening, one tail light, and then you just put the right socket behind that flap. So let's see. So here it is on the truck. And then you can see it next to the Model Y. They're not actually, they could be the same piece. Look, that one slopes up and that one slopes down. They could be the same piece, which would be a really good savings on Tesla's part. The only thing they would have to change is the stem that connects it to the car, so that it still opens upward. You really don't want this opening downward, because if it gets ice or snow on it, it could snap off a lot easier than if it opens up. It can block some of that accumulation and have some of it drip off. You can still snap it, but it's a little more robust if it opens up than if it opens down. No signs of the updated Model S rear. No signs of Model S at all, actually. Yeah, he's just got threes and X's. Oh, that's cool. Check it out. Tesla Roadster Matchbox, the new one. Let's see what you guys are saying here. I guess you gotta be a Teslite to really determine the difference. Well, yeah, it's kind of like knowing the difference in the wings on a Cadillac back in the day. But if you've got one coming, being able to know what's coming on it would be kind of cool, especially if you've been waiting a year for your delivery. Hope you showed my live stream this week. A lot of EVs. I missed it. I'm sorry. It might have been on while I was at work. Maybe. Yeah, Robert live streams sometimes. It's Omar. Hey there. So, what do you think about the power company versus the convenience store owners needing protection on charging stations?
Needing protection. I mean, uh, it,
I can see their point if they're going to invest tens of thousands of dollars in charging, but I really don't want to see a repeat of what we did with the dealership protections.
right. That's the thing. I mean, it's kind of a slippery slope with that. You really don't want to see. I mean, part of the issue is you're going to have anytime there's a big transition of some type of technology. Not everybody can win, right? So there's going to be some losers in the equation. So
Like West Virginia, and they're blocking OTA.
yeah, some. I mean, it's unfortunate, but the some will thrive and win and do well, and some will adapt, and then others will go away. So I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is.
Well, like they have these programs
Got to
teaching
move
coal
forward.
miners how to program and how to service cars and how to install solar panels and how to service wind turbines.
Right, and
And
that's the adapt and change, and
yeah,
and and thrive. Right, so
right,
some will adapt and change and thrive,
right.
and some will
Others will
just fail and
dig in their
completely
feet.
not change and not adapt. It's kind of like
Yeah,
the back when Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix
and
and
they didn't.
adapt and change their whole business model.
Yeah,
They didn't do that, so they failed.
yeah, yeah. But what's most frustrating about the coal miner situation is it's like they're offering these programs for free. They're taking their time because they know that maybe some of these folks weren't the best students, and now 50 years later, you've got 20 years to retirement, and you still need to be able to do some stuff. So they're giving them a multiple of opportunities, and it's frustrating for them to to not even like look at it. It's like, oh, there's always going to be coal. No, no, there's not. You've blown up all the mountains. Nobody's using your stuff.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So this one was fun, and we've been asking Tesla for it for a while for this one. You can now get your premium connectivity as an annual subscription. And the code exists to do the same for FSD, but as I said on the Tesla Live show, I don't think that they're going to actually open up the annual subscription for FSD for quite a while because what they're doing is what everybody expects to see when you have a monthly and an annual. When you buy the annual, you get a couple months free or a discount. So in this case, you get a couple months free. It's just $99 a year, excluding tax, and it's $9.99 a month if you go for the monthly. So you can actually save 2 months by buying it up front. And I don't see them wanting to do that with FSD because they're getting ready to raise the price substantially several times. And what would they do to you? Would they have to make you re-up to catch up, or we said a year, we meant 4 months?
No, they're not going to do that.
Right, so that's why I think they're going to wait until they've stabilized the price of FSD subscription before they let you buy that on a yearly basis. They haven't raised the what is it, 299, Marcus?
What's that?
I
No,
think
they
it's
haven't raised.
100.
No, no, no.
I think it's 199.
One
One
ninety
ninety
nine.
nine.
They
Yeah,
haven't raised
they
it
haven't
yet,
raised
but
it. No.
but they
Knock
they,
on
they
wood.
right. They said they will. They said they will, but they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So I think this is really cool, and especially like David says, when we get our Cybertrucks, I won't be able to get the lifetime connectivity anymore, and I'm not going to be hooking up my tethering because these cars use a lot of data, and the amount of time I'm on the road, I'll be blowing through my tethering cap like that. So this will be nice to be able to just pay it once a year. I can sync it up to my plates and just forget about it, and save two months, which is nice. So there's a picture of you can do it now on the screen of the car. We talked about this a while ago about how you could then buy stuff in the car, and then here's a photo of what it looks like. You just swipe to subscribe. Just easy. Yeah. Thanks for the $100. We have your credit card on file. But at the same time,
Yep.
if you're driving down the road, I think this is safer than having to stop, pull over, open up a web browser, or have a passenger do it on the app. You can just
Yeah.
self-driving and just keep it on going. Or ride a red light. You don't have to fumble with anything. It's just right there, ready to go.
Speaking,
And
hey, speaking of that, right quick, I was listening a little earlier when you was talking about the thing they trying to stop over the air software. That's just ridiculous. Like
yeah,
that, I ain't even, I didn't. That's just ridiculous. There, it's like
yeah,
everything in my house pretty much updates over the airwaves. My thermostat, that's just
yeah.
ridiculous.
So you got this printer behind me. You got the TV. You got the
Yep.
lights, the router, and they all do it automatically. It's like
That's
I
just
never think
ridiculous.
about it. Yeah.
That's like going backwards from
Yes.
technology and how the future is. Like that's just ridiculous.
Oh, hang on. I gotta go to the Matsubishi shop and get my Philips light bulbs updated. I
It's
only can only bring eight of the light bulbs, so I needed to see to get the rest of them out.
again, that's just like the last ditch effort to try to protect the dealership model
Right,
of
and
you
that's
got
what
to
I'm
bring
afraid
your
of.
car into us for us to do something, right?
Exactly, and
And
that's what I'm afraid of
it's
with the power company versus the convenience stores. I get the plight of the power company of the convenience store, but how narrowly or how long or what radius? How are we going to do this to give them the protection they need without locking
Yeah,
us into this in the future? Yeah,
that's a good point. That's what they thinking long term because that is a good point. You know, it's like they started, they took the leap on doing it, but then now when everybody see that's the way it should be, then you try
yeah,
to move them out the way. That ain't fair. It's like
exactly.
a chess move. So
So one thing I see happening here with the updates is I see Tesla or Rivian or somebody testing this, literally just putting out a regular update and saying sue us. Watch what happens because you've got the Commerce Clause, you've got protection from the FCC, and then you've got protection from whatever bureau handles the recalls. I think it's the NHTSA. It might be the NTSB. Whoever does the recalls. Then you've also got them on your hands because that Model 3 is no longer compliant because the windshield could fog up, and here you are, West Virginia, blocking a federal requirement that this vehicle get updated.
good point.
And Tesla's got some high-powered lawyers. They could win this easily because it's probably unconstitutional. So it would take just any court to knock it down.
Mm.
But the other way is if they don't feel like spending any money with the lawyers, is they could say that everything is an entertainment or navigation update. So every time that you get an update, it's just like how like Apple and Microsoft now don't let you get patches anymore. Like literally, this month's patch has everything in it. They still do have like a security patch, but it's not like you can't say I want just this security patch. You get all of the security patches going back when you get this month's security patch. So if Tesla does like Apple and says, hey, here's our radio update. Oh, by the way, it's got all the stuff for the car in it. They would be hard pressed to get them on that because it was in the letter of the law. Oh, hey, here's a map update. Oh, your UI
by the
changed.
way, security updates along with it.
Exactly. Oh, your brakes work better. Huh. Oh, your airbag now knows 8 new scenarios it can deploy in
Right.
with your radio update.
Right.
So I don't see West Virginia winning. I just wish that these closed-minded folks would think
Stop all
about it
that.
and not launch it like that. It's quite frustrating. So Zachary says, I'm running around today. I'm going to watch it later. This is the best clean energy sustainable transportation podcast. Thank you for your great work. Thank you very much, sir. Looking forward to it. So I look forward to seeing some comments in the we can go back and forth like we do. It's always fun. Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm clicking on stuff now. Let me close this down. Hey, the zombie's back. So I had a disconnect of all of my Google stuff a while back, and this guy got disconnected, and now he's back. Basically, what happened was Google thought I was being hacked, and really it was just I was watching YouTube from a computer I don't normally watch it from, at an hour I don't normally watch it at, and they locked everything down. Like, no,
Yeah.
boom. The hard part for me is was logging back into the car because I'd use tokens to log in, and the car has USB, but the browser doesn't have access to the USB. So even though I plugged the token in and pushed the button, it just couldn't get along. So what I found was the trick was to wait about 10 minutes at the waiting for you to put in the button screen. They're like, hey, would you like to use a different second factor? And I was like, yes, let's do it this way. And I was able to then do that, which was fun. All right, so next up, we've got another one from Drive Tesla Canada. Let's see what they're saying today. Tesla's working on making the Steam game library work in vehicles. And I was very pessimistic on this last time. I said, hey, we're not going to get this because we have old computers and only the new computers. The new computers only work with the new batteries, the 16-volt batteries, the lithiums. But then I'm thinking about it. They still do updates for the first gen Teslas. So you may not have The Witcher as they had in your Steam store, but you would probably have the next Beach Buggy Racing or something like that in the store. Just whatever the system could actually handle, just like regular Steam. I could load up Steam on my tablet, and if I pick Cyberpunk, it's not gonna be a good experience. But if I pick Command and Conquer, it's a much lighter game. That'll work just fine. So I'm not going to be as pessimistic as I was. I think this is really cool, and this is coming from a chat with Ryan McCaffrey of the Xbox. What is it? Xbox Magazine, and the Drive the Lightning podcast, or Ride the Lightning podcast, and he was working with Elon, working through the general case of making Steam games working on Tesla versus specific titles. Whoops, it loaded on me. We should be there long term. And let's just go ahead and copy that so you guys can see what I see. Go back here. And bam. Okay, so he was asking when they're going to get Cyberpunk in the car. Elon said it was a great game. I'm finally ready to play this. I've had this, and it looks like they've patched out most of the bugs. So I'm gonna play this. It looks like fun. So Elon said, we're working through the general case of making Steam games work on Tesla versus specific titles. The former is obviously where we should be long term. I agree. So Elon's objection to app stores before was that they didn't have enough cars. Well, now that they've got 1 million cars on the road, it actually matches the number he said that they would need to have a store. And they're a little busy, so why do they need their own app store when they could just use somebody else's? Especially since they've just got computers in all their cars. All their cars run regular code. They're Linux computers running C code. Obviously, you want to make sure that the capabilities are sandboxed correctly, because I don't want to download some Russian game and have my car drive into a wall. But I think that they have enough computer science people, including Elon, on board that they can properly sandbox this thing, and I think it'll be fun. Is Cyberpunk on a Cybertruck guarantee, or is it a wish long term? Elon says 100%. Yes. I hope it's included because I don't want to buy it again. Actually, I think I have it on Steam, so I don't have to buy it again in that case. Yeah, exactly. I agree. So in other words, you're looking to get Proton running on Teslas, basically turning your car into a Steam Deck. That's cool too. Regardless, it sounds very cool. Thanks for the update. Oh, this is another one I was going to cover later, but we're already here. So Ukraine says, thanks, appreciate it. Response to Elon saying that Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals are en route. So Russia can cut the lines all they want, but now it's going to be a lot harder to block individual terminals. You'll have to take out each site, or run wide area jamming, or attack the Starlink satellites themselves, which my understanding is an act of war to attack a U.S. satellite. So they won't do that part because they're not ready for us yet. And he was asking, when you try to colonize Mars, Russia tries to occupy Ukraine. While your rocket successfully lands from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink satellites to address the same Russia's to stand. And so that's where Elon was responding to that. Brianna, I mean, that's not the time, Brianna. She usually brings up some really good points, but this is one of those things where looking a gift horse in the mouth, maybe. Reason I ordered the Steam Deck is Valve's mission of making your games run wherever possible. Yes, exactly. I did get hacked and lost everything on PC, and they used my picture on Tinder. Oh my goodness, I hate it when people do that.
Ouch.
It's like, yeah. I mean, they don't have other stuff they could bother with other than making us miserable. So, sorry about that, Robert. So, okay, so Jonna responded to Brianna and asked her if it works for her. Do you have an she may have points in normal operation, but SpaceX has definitely done terminal donations in cases where there's a natural disaster, or this is the first one for a war that I'm aware of. But they've done it where like you can't get FedEx, and like, they'll get you your terminal and they'll set you up. You don't have to go through all the normal machinations that the three of us would do if we were to receive our terminals today. We'd have to get it in the FedEx or UPS. We'd have to, call in and activate it, or probably not call in. I think just open up the app and let it see the sky for an hour. That they can streamline this when they have to. That's not what they're going to do by default, because that would make a mess for their call centers, their operation centers. But they can make an exception for situations like this, or a fire or flood, like they did in Tonga. They built a whole ground site and they sent the terminals, and they're good to go. So,
I mean, I just kind of see it as SpaceX doing their part. Like,
Right.
like the whole entire world is like, hey, what Russia's doing right here is wrong. Everybody's
Right.
against it, and the whole world's just kind of standing together. And this is just part of them doing their part as well.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't expect them to send apartments, but this is something they can do. They already do. They know how to do. This is their area of expertise, and I'm not nitpicking with her. She does good work, but she's one of those folks sometimes that if it's not perfect, then it's not good enough. Not all the time, but I think this is one of those cases where she's gone too far in the picking of nits. She means well, so I'm not saying gang up on her. I'm not saying you're wrong at everything. I'm just saying maybe a little soft touch on this one would be appropriate. I'm also not afraid that she'll block me on Twitter for that, because we do have robust conversations. She's like, "You're wrong," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Or maybe, but I don't think so. There are some people that you can not get into healthy discussions with, and they'll, you had a nice, respectful conversation, and then all of a sudden, you can never talk to them again. Thankfully, she's not one of those. Let's see. Really complicates the ISS. So that brings up another one. I don't know if I saved it to talk about on here or not, but I think I did. In fact, let me pull up a
well, the good news is,
yeah.
at least for the United States, is we're no longer, hitching a ride with the Russians
Right,
to
that
get the
part.
people off the back. So thank you, SpaceX,
Exactly.
for the dragging, getting our people up and down.
Let me load it. I was gonna wait and see if it came up, but let me pull up his tweets now. So basically, somebody from Russia, I think the head of Roscosmos, was saying that they could deorbit ISS, and oops, who cares where it lands because it doesn't go over Russia, and okay, I'm not there yet. I'm scrolling Elon tweets, and this one was funny. Meme Lord strikes again. Phone booth in 1992. Phone booth in 2022. All right, so I hope you guys don't mind the rapid scrolling. I'm dropping a new album. I think I'll reach number 2. Um, reasons to hate are remembered better than reasons to love. An evolutionary asymmetry is helpful to survival, but counterproductive when survival is not at stake. Is he responding to somebody for that? No, he's philosophizing. Uh, All right, so I'm gonna actually look at his tweets and replies for this, because his response was a graphic, so it makes it harder for me to just describe what happened. Here we go. Yep, this is the one. So this dude, I believe he's the head of Roscomos. I don't know. So let's translate this. Twitter Translate says, sanctions of Alzheimer. Biden said the new sanctions would affect the Russian space program. Okay. It remains to find out the details. 1, do you want to block our access to radiation-resistant space microelectronics? So you already did it quite officially in 2014. Then he continues his threats. As you noticed, nevertheless, we continue to make our own spacecraft, and we will do them by expanding the production of the necessary components and devices at home. Do you want to ban all countries from launching their spacecraft on the most reliable Russian rockets in the world? They are pretty reliable, but I think that's a little bit of boisterism. This is how you are already working it and are planning to finally destroy the world market of space competition from January 2023 by imposing sanctions on our launch vehicles, as we're aware. So he's just freaking out because, if he can't do his job, what use is he to the government? We're aware this is not news, blah, blah. Do you want to destroy our cooperation on the ISS? There we go. This is the part I'm looking for. He continues to ramble. This is how you already do it, by limiting exchanges between our cosmonaut and astronaut training centers. Or well, they probably do it so you don't steal their stuff while they're in the building. Or do you want to manage the ISS yourself? Maybe President Biden is off topic, so you explain to him that the correction of the station's orbit and its avoidance of dangerous rendezvous with space garbage, which your talented businessmen have polluted the near-Earth orbit. So he's talking about Elon right there. He said, your talented businessmen have polluted with near-Earth garbage, but Starlink orbits below ISS, not above it. And it is produced exclusively by the engines of the Russian Progress MS cargo ships today. So basically, the ISS is boosted by the autonomous Russian Soyuz ship called Progress. And he says, if you block cooperation with us, who will save the ISS from an uncontrolled deorbit and fall to the United States or Europe? There's also the option of dropping a 500-ton structure in India and China. Do you want to threaten them with such a prospect? The ISS does not fly over Russia, so all the risks are yours. Are you ready for them? Gentlemen, when planning sanctions, please check those, blah, blah. So he's freaking out because we've put sanctions on their rocketry. And as Omar was saying a few minutes ago, we don't need them. He's talking about, okay, so now he's saying that Biden is, because this is their thing. They have a psyops can be stupid. Rocket crashes every time you launch it, every single time. So let's go back to Elon's tweets so that I can get his response to this mess. Oops. I broke it. All right, so let's go here. So then Elon responds to that tirade with just a SpaceX graphic. Just plain and simple SpaceX. Because all of it was who will, what will, how will. SpaceX.
How are you going to solve these problems? SpaceX. Enough said.
Right. And then this guy quotes that part of the tirade, says, if you block cooperation with us, who will save ISS from uncontrolled deorbit and fall to the United States and Europe? And he says, I think Elon was referring to this above translation provided by Twitter with saying, I think this is what he's talking about when he did that. So this post wasn't there when I found the thread. I just saw that, and I'm like, and I started translating this. I'm like, man, that guy's pissed. And then Elon's response was, yes, that is what he meant to do. And then Gally says, less F and G. Oh. Boom. Yeah, so Nothing will happen since it's an international space station. The ESA and NASA are involved. They can build rockets too and launch them from French Guiana or Florida if they want. So, like I said, this guy is freaking out because he's no longer useful to the government because the government can't make their money. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he was drunk tweeting.
No, he's freaking out tweeting. That's what it is. He's
exactly.
like, he's like, do you realize what you're doing to me here?
Yeah.
Because if you're not useful to Russia,
he might trip and fall out a window or drink some poison tea.
You may no longer be an oligarch.
This is true. This guy has a point. Sounds like Russia is trying to flaunt their satellite destroyer rocket, and if they ever shot at the ISS, the world will answer. Yeah, that might prompt a mad response.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good move on their part.
Yeah, they will have lost.
And mind
everything.
you, they have their people on the ISS as well. Clearly, they don't care about their own people that are up there.
Right. This is true, but we can bring fuel and then it can launch itself. Come on now. Anyway, I saw a joke that said to the effect of, it must be really uncomfortable right now to be the lone German on a space station with 3 U.S. and 3 Russian space astronauts right now. Astronauts and cosmonauts. He's got to keep the peace. I think they're professionals. They're scientists up there. I'm sure that the Russian guys are not having a good time up there, especially with the other 4 making side marks about their people. But
well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Russian people themselves don't really agree with this. This is Putin's thing. I mean, you've seen the protests throughout Russia, and first of all, for them to even protest in Russia is a big deal.
It's dangerous.
Because that's very, they don't. It's not like they have the whole freedom of speech thing over there. That like they will imprison you. They'll do bad things will happen if you go and actively protest. So the fact that they're out there protesting lets you know that the people themselves really, really don't agree with this. It's unnecessary, and they don't agree with it. So I would imagine that the cosmonauts up there, they probably don't agree with it either. Like they probably don't understand it either. So everybody who's actually on the space station and actually there living together, they know, hey, we're all in this together. We're on this floating object in space together, right? We have to work together. It's a survival thing.
Exactly.
I mean, what are you going to do? Fight each other up there and then kill and everybody dies? No, they're not going to do that.
No,
so
they're professionals. They're not going to do that. I think I heard something like 1,500 people were arrested the first day in Russian protests to the invasion. So, like you said, it's not a block. It's just a matter of, that they're not allowed a certain amount of free speech there. So it's a matter of if they have the bravery to go up and protest for what's right. And like if you got a family to feed, are you going to go up and do it? You might, but I don't blame the guy or gal who doesn't go up there when like I said, they've got kids to feed at home. They got to think about their family as well. David says Elon would have a booster up to the ISS in record time. He'd love to replace that too. Absolutely, I think that they've probably got plans already on board to make it happen. And right now the Dragon is able to bring some fuel and stuff, so it might take a couple extra launches, but they've got methods and they've got some smart people. They could figure something out. Like you could probably do a cargo dragon just full of fuel and do a spacewalk and upload it. See a lot of stars and ski tonight. Nice. More people are incarcerated in Russia now. Now than the Cold War. It's very dangerous, and all of us should appreciate the risk the Russian protesters are showing. Absolutely, and it's brave.
It's a huge risk.
Yeah.
It's very brave, and everybody appreciates the fact that they are standing strongly for what they believe. But
yeah,
can't blame those that don't either.
Exactly. Yeah, and then as they get arrested, they aren't necessarily gentle with them, and they don't all make it back either because
and they don't all get
some people disappear.
Proper due process, and it's
sham trials.
It's a scary thing because if they get arrested, they don't know what's going to actually happen to them. So
exactly. They got a bunch of oil people running their country. They're freaking out about the oil. Speaking of oil, Sales of the electric vehicle sales in quarter four 2021, they peaked at market dominating 72% according to the KBB. This is coming from Teslarati. I don't like the way that they wrote peaked, because peaked seems to suggest that they're done. I don't think that.
Well, wait a minute. This is in Q4. So
Yeah.
if okay, so if the electric vehicle sales were 72% of the market in Q4,
Right.
that's the latest
Right. That's why I
quarter
didn't
that
like
was
the word peaked.
reported. So
They should say all time high or something like that. And yes, they probably will pull back because the first quarter is typically soft and weak, but I don't want to say it peaked because watch Q2 come by and like we see this every year, like new record after new record. So
but
I
now
take issue with the word peaked.
are they including hybrid electrics in that number
Let's
as
take a
well?
look. So new report from KBB says in Q4 accounting for 4.5% of all automobile sales in the final 3 months of the year. Despite widespread parts and chip shortages that plague the industry to this day, 2021 was the U.S. EV's most successful year with nearly 148,000 electrified units sold. I'm guessing that they might be because they said electrified. Tesla led all manufacturers in the segment with 72% of all EV sales for the year. Woo! KBB says nearly 500,000 fully electric vehicles were purchased last year. However, it seems the entire landscape of electrified is picking up traction. So that definitely includes hybrids, plug-in or regular. I'd like to see them stop including the non-plug-in hybrids in these data, because regular hybrids now are just really efficient gas cars. It's like you can get the V12 or you can get the 4-cylinder with a small battery. But if I can plug that battery in, that's an electric car. Part-time electric car, you know? That's how I feel. And, hey, Michael agrees with me. How can it have peaked when that's the last record and it's a record?
Exactly. Exactly what we were saying.
Okay, so I'm not the only one just annoyed by the way they use the word peaked. So Matt from CarWow had some seat time with a VW lawyer or representative and the ID Buzz. And he wasn't allowed to show us the interior, but we did see him toss the tonneau cover out the side. He didn't yeet it like he typically likes to do with these car covers. And let's copy the link in here so you can watch it later, and then we'll sample a bit of it. Let's sample a bit of it, and then I'll put the link in case Matt gets feisty with me.
I think it would have been a lot better if they would have made this vehicle look the way their original rendering was.
Yeah.
But it just looks like a regular van.
Pretty much. All right, so again,
Which
Matt
is still a good use case. I mean, vans have their place, and it's still, a good option that they're making an electrified van,
yeah.
But it's not that VW bus that they originally promised us.
Right. Matt is with CarWow. Where did it go? I was going to show that. Well, either way, you guys know about CarWow.
At the rear. Now this, because it is the people carrier version, the tailgate opens up like that. The van...
And he can't show that to us because the VW rep right there won't allow it. So DC charging up to 135 kilowatts, he says.
In there, so I'll quickly cover it up so I don't get into too much trouble with VW. Anyway, this thing has a 77 kilowatt hour battery pack, and you have DC charging up to...
So it's not bad. Like I said with the other VW, the ID4 is the Camry of EVs. It's not a spec king. It's not fast. It's not powerful, but it's not
DC fast charging up to 135 kilowatts.
Yeah, that should be an H on there. It should be just
yeah. That is the equivalent
of a V2 supercharger.
The 2012 Model S.
This is true.
So
well, the late 2012, the original 2012 could only do 120. So the right before 2013.
That is the equivalent of the 2013 Model S. So
there you
go. So they're almost catching up with 10 years ago.
Right.
That's
so
my
point. This is what the V3 or V2 superchargers would do before they got their upgrade to 150 kilowatts. They would max out at 135. But as I was saying, this is this is inoffensive. It's a savings. It's reliable.
But mind you, that is viable. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, it's
It's
only,
not like 50
50
kilowatts.
kilowatts. I mean,
Right.
135. It's that's respectable.
Yeah.
Like even the. I mean, I just sold my 2013 Model S last year, right? So even that vehicle, that all these years that I had it,
Yeah.
I took plenty of road trips with it, and even though it was the maximum 135 on that vehicle,
Right.
it it was fine. It was fine for what it did. And it served my needs. It did everything I needed it to do. It wasn't, hugely inconvenient or anything like that, even on a road trip.
Right. And
So
so David has a great point. What if VW had access to the supercharging network? In Europe, at least in the Netherlands, they do. You can plug into any supercharger in the Netherlands and get up to 135 kilowatt hours. Kilowatts. They have the H on there, and it's driving me mad. You can bring your Hummer with 212 kilowatt hours to the European station and be fine if you could fit it on the roads there. So 135 kilowatts you could do. The problem then becomes whether or not how they're going to do it in the States. And this is where my speculation on what they're doing underneath that charge port in the future comes into play. Because if they have the bigger charge port, and like I said, they can do like China and array the two ports next to each other like this. Now you can actually put a full-on CCS port under the US flap. And then that gives you a lot more options as to what you can do here in the States. But in the Netherlands, and soon to be probably all of Europe, they're good to go, which I think is cool.
the only problem I see with this VW is they put the charge port on the wrong side.
That part.
They should have put it on the other side so they can take advantage of the Tesla
superchargers.
superchargers. It'd be on the same side as the Teslas, and it would fit better. Like
Exactly.
I don't understand why they would put it on the opposite side. Like, why?
Probably because that's where they put the gas flap. Just old thinking.
And you can't like change that and say, you know what? Let's orientate opposite.
Well, you can, because on their VW car they had it in the front, so it's not like they've never heard of it. But it's like Sandy said,
Right.
and like,
So
and like
why
Elon
wouldn't
said,
they? I mean, if I was VW, I would put it on the same side as the Teslas to give my customers the option, where available, to also charge on the supercharger network for Teslas. And just give them more options and say,
especially
hey,
since it
that's
hasn't
no
launched
longer
yet.
a barrier to you wanting to purchase our vehicle.
Right, especially since the van hasn't even launched yet, 10 years later. But it's like Elon and Sandy said, you've got these departments and they don't interact with each other. And so, like, literally fuel doors go on the right at VW. So the fuel door goes on the right, and whoops, we done screwed up. And Elon suggested that why do they have modules? Because we have a module department, so we make modules. The structure of your product is going to reflect the structure of your company, whether you want it to or not. And that just further goes to show that VW's got some more work to do. I don't like how they show me these previews, and when I click them, they don't actually match up.
Right.
I think it might be either the length of the video that's doing that, or there's an encoding error. Because typically, when I click on something, it matches up. So anyway, you can go check out Matt's Car Wow overview preview of this car, where you don't look at the interior at all. I didn't include it at the link included. Hey, I'm for supercharger access. Let them pay $150 to Tesla owners and $1 to pay to build out the network. Absolutely, and that's how they have it set up right now, David. Is if you're a member of their monthly subscription plan, then you can pay what Tesla owners pay, regardless of how much you use. And if you're just going to use it once or twice, then you'll pay a premium per session. So either way, they're helping to build out the network. Even if they pay our rate, they're still paying monthly. I think it's like $20 a month equivalent. And if they are not members, then they're going to pay a nice premium for every kilowatt hour or minute, depending on how they build that particular site. And so the kilowatts was still out there doing their thing, spy shotting when they're not renting out their cars, and they found a Model S Plaid with the new taillights, and the new diffused LED taillights, and the larger charge port door on the Model S. So let's take a look at that. So you can see that little flap there. I think this is the one off the Model Y because it looks the same as we saw on the Model X. And you can see the taillights are a little smokier. Like they're smokier than smoke, right? Right, Marcus?
Mm, they're a little, yeah,
A little darker.
yeah, they're a little darker. I would say, just yeah,
Yeah.
because of I guess how they're designed. Because on smoke, you got more of that clear inside. The clear
Yeah.
part in the inside makes them more lighter. So yeah.
And then over here, you can see that the applique is body colored. I don't even think it says Tesla anymore. It's just body colored.
Right. My point with that now, me and my guy was talking about that. I don't, me personally, I'm just speaking for myself. It's all to me. I like with the black because the black kind of help break some of that paint up.
Yes. Yes.
That's just too much. Just solid. Just look kind of plain to me.
Right. If it was red or blue or gray, it would just be
Or
like
black.
bah.
Yeah.
Well, black. It's already gonna be black. But I like even on the black, it's matte black versus gloss black.
Right. And then they got the Tesla raised on there. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should have kept the Tesla on there.
Yeah.
Either way,
Maybe kept that on there and dropped the logo off the back because you don't need them both. Or at least make the
Right.
logo black instead of chrome. It is still chrome. Even now, it's still chrome. Even though everything else on the car is black.
yeah. Why
No.
did they delete everything except for the T?
They probably have like a couple crates of teas just sitting around.
Yeah, they probably do. They probably got tons of them.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I bet you that goes matte black when they run out. Clean set of shots. What did he write?
Hey, KC,
Yeah.
long as they, me and my guy was joking about it. I said, long as they just announced some Plaid Plus coming, I would have been pissed. So,
If they do, they better give you.
ooh, I'll be.
They better
I'll
give you
see.
a good trade-in.
Yes.
All right, so this one was kind of cool speculation confirmed by Elon.
How much do you think the quad motor
The
Cybertruck is going to
Pilot will
cost?
eventually be replaced.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Casey.
Because Tesla doesn't want to support two code bases, I expect that the basic autopilot will be eventually replaced with a version powered by Tesla's FSD beta rewrite. And Elon says, yeah. So single stack is coming, and it's coming to everybody. But obviously, they're going to just turn off the ability for it to stop at stoplights and use it off of the freeway for folks who are not on, or for the folks who are on free autopilot. And if you're on paid FSD or enhanced autopilot, then they will run you on the new stuff.
So for those people who are not paying for FSD, the only difference that this really makes is just that it's just going to use the newer AI instead of the old stack that it's currently using. So it's just
right. But that's
so
that's
it'll
really,
probably maybe phantom brake less or something.
right. Just is doing a lot of work right there because once they get this thing up and running, it'll be better at estimating speeds for following distance. It'll be better at not phantom braking. The question is whether or not we'll need new cameras or anything for that because, like Omar keeps reminding us, our cars do not like the sunlight. Vampire. And then the other thing you'll find is that the stability in the lanes will be better. But then my question then is the folks who have enhanced autopilot but version 2 computer, are they stuck? What happens to them? Do they have to hope their MCU fails? Because if you get your MCU replaced, then on a MCU 2 Model 3 or Y, well, Model Y only ships with version 3 unless you're in China. But if you haven't in between Model 3 and you get a new MCU, you get a new FSD computer as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. Would you be able to just upgrade the computer even though you didn't buy FSD? Like pay for it? Or you can do a 1-month subscription to FSD, pay the computer upgrade fee, and then stop subscribing. It'll go back down to EAP. I like to save money.
There you go.
That's what I think about
There
these
you
kind of
go.
things. A rough estimate of when version 11 might be released. We won't hold you to it, just a rough guess. And this guy says, I'll hold you to it because V11 is likely tied to Canada expansion. But as we saw, Canada's already started their expansion, so either version 11 is right around the corner, or V11 has nothing to do with Canada. What do you guys think about that? I've got my finger in the trigger ready to buy FSD here in Australia once we get a glimpse of how fast it can be rolled out in another country. And that's what I was saying there is once they do Canada, that's going to be them making a blueprint for how to do a new country. And I don't think you're going to see it in the EU anytime soon because your cars aren't allowed to turn the wheel so many degrees, which is stupid.
That's ridiculous.
And it's even worse if you had the car when it still was able to do that, because it's not a hardware issue.
You know what it was capable of.
It's a law, yeah. Hopefully they come around. I think what we see with them and the camera mirrors and the advanced headlights, I think literally all they need to see is some proof that it's safe, and then they might update their evaluation. Unlike us, where it took a whole bunch of extra unrelated laws before we could get some smart headlights. But I think that's also a case of like here, like if it's not against the law, it's allowed, and over there it's like it's a little different, you know. So here we moved too fast for them to outlaw it, and then over there they already said no, you can't do that advanced tech.
Although I'm not sure how well the adaptive headlights really work, at least right now, because I have the automatic, the high beams, right? And that is super annoying. It turns on at the wrong times. It doesn't turn off quick enough when other cars are approaching and stuff. And it's just like,
well, I'll guarantee you they
for
don't
me,
work because
they just haven't got that. They haven't figured that out to make it work well yet.
Yeah.
So now adaptive headlights.
I think it'd be any better. Well, I'll guarantee you it doesn't work now because even though they have them in Europe and they're allowed to work, Tesla hasn't actually done anything with them. So what I expect to see is that everywhere the car sees a car, it'll just dim the high beam in that spot and leave the high beams running.
Well, yeah, but I'm just thinking if they can't get the auto high beams to work correctly with turning on, when to turn on and when to turn off, I don't see how they're going to get the adaptive to work correctly with, shining less bright in this spot versus in that spot.
Might have gotten better. Like now they're still jerks, but they are right up to the legal limit of like how far you have to be before you can use high beams. Like as soon as a car gets too far away from me, high beams. I'm like, oh well, that sucks. if somebody gets just close enough, like they're a meter over, boom, low beams. So it's they're still not good, but I see them as being technically proficient enough that they should be able to do this.
Okay.
Especially,
see, I don't have the FSD beta, so I can't speak on that.
There's that.
I can't say in my smoke, in smoke, they work pretty well to me. Honestly, I was amazed. I was coming around when I drive at night when I was drove, just to see, and it worked pretty well compared to one time I had a loaner, like a 2019 loaner. I can tell the difference though, So I don't know if they changed something different. I don't know if they changed something different in the plan, but maybe. It worked pretty well.
Well, you know what? Another difference is you have a Model S, so you sit lower. And maybe the angle of approach and the angle of where the camera is helps the Model S compared to the Model Y.
Yes, Y3.
So,
okay.
Maybe. And it also is their the car that Elon drives, so they're gonna be a little more sensitive to what he wants. David says my auto high beam headlights are pretty good on the Model 3 long range non-beta. So I think
so maybe it is the angle. So the Model 3 and the Model S, they sit lower, so maybe they actually have tuned that in better than the.
And then my Model X is beta, higher. So that makes sense. And also, like with the phantom braking, mine even on matched versions, mine does less phantom braking for every incident than a Model 3 would. So angles still could have something to do with it there. This one isn't exactly green living, but it's an EV. And is it sanitation? Dragonfly has a drone that can reach 500,000 seat sanitation milestone, and it's able to clean a stadium from the air. Just spray the spray around all the seats, and let's see how quickly they did it here. In the drone racing leagues, Vegas Championship race during CES 2022. That's pretty cool. We've reached this milestone in emerging health and safety. So the milestone is how many seats they did in one session there. I think that's really cool. And it's an EV and the fact that it's a drone. All right, so here we go now. Okay, so we talked about West Virginia, so I don't need to talk about it again. This one is something we've seen Tesla do with the STAR program and Toyota do with their START program. I may have flipped those two around because they sound so similar. And they're both T companies as well. Ford is going to collaborate with the Universal Technical Institute on EV training curriculum, which is pretty good stuff because, as we were saying with the coal miners, we need to train the future workforce and current workforce to work on the future cars because if there's nobody to fix your car, then you got to throw it away and buy a new one, and that's not green or
Right.
So the 9 campuses participating at first are Avondale, Arizona, Bloomfield, New Jersey, Exton, Pennsylvania, Houston, Texas, Lisle, Illinois, Mooresville, North Carolina. Hey, I'm going to ask Brian about that one. Orlando, Florida, Rancho Cucamonga, California, and Sacramento, California. The course will take 15 weeks to complete, and students are immediately eligible to enroll in the FACT program after completing UTI's core automotive or diesel programs. Oh, so you'll be able to transition people over as well, because if they're getting some gas training, they can start today as we wait for EVs to come up above the 5%. Not bad.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Robert says, as a recipient of the Tesla high beams, they work pretty well, so I didn't get blinded by the lights on one side. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, so this one, it kind of hits me right here, because I've got half of my array is LG panels. LG is going to stop LG Electronics is going to stop manufacturing solar panels. All right, so let's see if they say why. The system was based on factors like increasing material costs, increasing logistics costs, and supply train constraints. The announcement looks ahead as LG concentrates on other high-value products and services like energy storage systems and energy management solutions. So basically, they can't keep.
So basically, they're putting all the resources into batteries.
Right. So they can't keep up with U.S. and Chinese cells in U.S. and China. So they're just going to leave the market and focus on batteries. And I would suspect that their home batteries will be just fine compared to their car batteries because they're not shaking all the time. Vibration, just running down the road. And hopefully by now, with their third mass recall with the Chrysler Pacifica, they will have identified what machines are failing at building cells correctly. And as we talked about last week, where their knockoff company SK, or alleged knockoff company that they settled for. So is that really alleged anymore? Since they said we did it, here's some money. Anyway, SK isn't having those problems, and they are able to properly inspect their stuff. So let's wish them luck on the home storage front, because we need all the battery cells we can get out there. Then I got a link to the West Virginia House Bill 4560 about the not being able to update your car garbage. There.
That is ridiculous, man.
Yeah, if you want to read the whole thing, it's available. I kind of wish Dan was here for this next one, because this is his thing. He's a big fan of the Arcimoto, and so Arcimoto just announced that they have opened a new factory, 250,000 square foot factory. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Arcimoto, it's a open air trike, and sometimes it has doors, sometimes it doesn't. It looks like this. It's called the FUV, the Fun Utility Vehicle. Dan has explained to me time and time again why it's a good idea. The only thing I've understood is it makes a good, like Southern California, like little moped runabout sort of thing. It's faster than a moped. It's a motorcycle, and a pizza delivery type situation. Like, hey, you replace the back seat with a box, and you got your pizzas in there, and it makes sense to me. No offense to Akimoto, that's just the only thing that's sticking why it makes sense to me, because I don't like being hot, cold, or wet while riding on the road, and this guarantees all of those things where I drive.
Hey, I can see it good for like a track event, a big track where you have to go all around and stuff.
That'd be fun.
I could I could see it in those communities where people drive around in golf carts,
Yeah.
replacing those. I mean, I could see certain use cases for it, but
Yeah.
absolutely, I can. You're right. I agree with you. It's not like it's this could be my daily commuter back and forth to work or nothing. No, because I'm not going to be riding around getting wet
Right. And
and
that's why I like
subjected to
the
the elements.
Terra so much better for that use case of a commute, because it recharges itself if you park it in the sun. It's got still got three wheels, but they're as wide as a Model S in footprint, so it's not gonna be tipping over. And you got air conditioning, heat, windshield wipers, and doors to keep you out of the rain. So for me, I get the utility of the Aptera, but I don't know that I would be using the Aptera to deliver pizza, because you deliver pizzas at night, so it's like it can be recharging during the
Listen,
day.
you might need a FUV in order to drive back and forth the length of the Gigafactory in Texas or something. I don't
This
know.
is true. It'd be funny if Tesla does it after all that smack Elon was talking about three wheelers, and they just have a bunch of FUVs to get around the factory.
I'm saying
Oh,
that
just
factory is humongous, so you
yeah,
need a vehicle to get back and forth around that huge
absolutely,
factory.
absolutely.
Cause
And that those comments came about when Sandy asked Elon for some help with the three wheelers, and Elon said, "I don't like three wheelers." What were you gonna say, Marcus?
I was gonna ask what they currently use in like Fremont right now. Like get around like bikes or something or something. I
Bikes.
think I saw something like that. And
Yeah, bikes, golf carts, feet.
yeah, yeah.
Yep,
That plant is huge, man.
it's
We
huge.
went by that other day. Oh my gosh, like an airport.
I mean, you could use electric bikes, but or whatever, but you you can transport stuff on this FUV with you and not just
Yeah,
carry yourself. So
exactly. Or have to do a cargo bike.
I'm
IKEA
sure
rents those
they're
out.
gonna have it right.
Yeah, I think we covered that. IKEA rents out those cargo bikes that you can rent them for a little while. If we didn't do it here, we did it on What Drives Us. All right, so if you've still got an old Prius kicking about, how would you like a lithium-ion battery to replace that nickel-metal mess that came with? So Torque News is reporting you can refresh your old Toyota Prius with the new lithium-ion pack, uh, and then they say, why hasn't Toyota done it? Because if Toyota did it, they'd have to make an EV, and they don't want an EV. They want a hydrogen vehicle. uh, Toyota now does lithium-ion. Yeah. For the plug-in Prius and for the BZ4X, they do lithium. Everything else is still nickel, and not nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride. So here's the old pack. For the longest time, Toyota wouldn't use anything other than nickel metal because they felt lithium ion did not have enough research to understand the technology entirely, despite the fact that Sony, their countrymen, started it and it was doing fine. So let's see, they found that there's a better battery replacement rather than going with just replacements of the same kind. And let's see, did they name the company? Excited and swore to keep this under wraps as much as possible. So no, he doesn't name the company, but they exist. The new battery has a weight of, or has a lower weight by 40 to 60 pounds because lithium is lighter than nickel. Yes. New battery was a little challenging to work with, where I had 3D printed module boxes, but it made it work overall. Okay. So keep an eye on this guy at Torque News if you have an old Prius and you're interested in swapping to lithium, assuming this company makes it through the Valley of Death. I've done a lot of Kickstarters and some of them didn't make it.
I mean, you got a very limited customer base on that one.
Gen 2 Prius? Yeah, it's gone. They're on Gen 4 now, right?
Yeah.
Or 5? Plus it's a hybrid. What we're really pushing here is plug-in hybrids and electrics. So Ford calls out NIO and Tesla as competition it must beat. Denies rumors of splitting the ICE and EV into separate businesses. So this week there was a rumor that Ford was going to spin off their electric car business to be a whole new company, and Ford has said that's a lie. It doesn't mean that it actually is a lie. It just means that they're not doing it right now. Honestly, they could still do it, but it's not something they're looking into right now. There we go. Now, they also said that they need to keep up with NIO and Tesla. So where did he say that at?
Well, then they better be spinning up like more factories and getting ready to produce a heck of a lot more cars and electric cars than they currently are.
I'd say they're on a good track with the Transit, the F-150 Lightning, and the Mach-E.
They have a lot of models in the work, but
Mm-hmm.
how many? I mean, what's their production scale? Like how many of each units are they going to be able to put out per year? That's the thing.
Not enough.
If
They
they
keep
want to
doubling it.
if they want to compete with Tesla and NIO, they need to be able to spit out a much larger number of vehicles than they currently have planned.
Yeah, yeah. NIO is doing pretty well. They were the ones that had that unicorn car we showed a few weeks ago that looked like a Model 3 with a horn on the hood or on the roof. They're pretty far along. Excuse me. So, what Jim Farley, Ford CEO, says is, we know our competition is NIO and Tesla. We have to beat them, not match them. That's the right attitude, buddy. When the companies that I think about that I admire because of their commitment and frankly the hard work they did to earn their reputation are companies like NIO and Tesla. They've been at this a long time. They engineer their vehicles differently. I'm most respectful of Tesla's profitability. They are now making more than $10,000 a vehicle in their second quarter earnings. Yeah. Wow. That is strong praise. And unlike Mary, he's not coming out saying, "Oh yeah, we're leading everything. Nobody can beat us." Blah blah blah. While running up the rear, he's like, "Hey, we're in second place, and we need to be
I like the
first."
fact that he's not being arrogant about it. He's saying, "Hey, we got to
Exactly.
do better. We got to do like they're this is the bar to beat, and we got to be able to get over this bar."
Yeah. So you guys know I like Lightning Motors to the point where I bought like 2 shares of their stock. Uh, so I am a tiny investor in Lightning Motors. I bought them for their spec. They have completed their Colorado facility expansion and doubled the capacity, and they share their manufacturing video. So Lightning Motors is the one I was talking about. They take in gliders mostly from Ford, but now, as we saw, was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they're now also taking in GM gliders as well, and putting out full-fledged brand new electric cars that qualify for all the various tax credits because they are a brand new vehicle manufacturer. They don't even always take in gliders. Like for a lot of the transits, they come in with gas engines and diesel engines. They actually sell them for extra money on the side market. Brand new engines, like they have what they call takeoffs. Like when you get brand new tires on a car and you don't like them, they have the takeoffs, and then you put in better tires. Sometimes it's not even that you don't like the tires; it's that you wanted different wheels, more stylish wheels. Like Smoka doesn't have stock wheels, and so I don't know if Marcus sold his or if he kept them. But if he sold them, they would be called takeoffs, and that's what those are because you drove home
I,
and took them off.
I don't mind saying I sold him a guy. The price he offered me, he wanted them so bad. This is before they started doing the 19s and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Before they started putting them on, I mean, how did they do it? It was all weird. But anyway, I sold him. He got came from all the way from San Antonio about him. He gave me a good little price for it. I said, you can have them because they weren't going to do was sit up anyway in the storage. I ain't want the rubber to, just to,
Exactly, and
I
that's
got
why
like
most people. Yeah, that's why most
three
people do
different
it.
sets of wheels and
Yeah,
tires. It don't make no sense. So.
right. So you have a take-off engine, take-out engine, same situation. It's just going to sit there rotting. So why not use it to upgrade an older van that needs a new engine? So now it's putting out better emission profile, better power, and you can help make your electric vans cheaper because you now have $10,000 subtraction from your cost of goods, which is phenomenal. David asks, "Is NIO selling well in Europe?" I haven't heard specifically. I know they're doing great in China. I hear about NIO more than I hear about Xpeng. So here's their one of their assemblies. They're putting together an electric powertrain at Lightning Motors, and Kyle Connor of Out of Spec Motoring did a really good video, long but that's how all of my videos are. Uh, covering their first plant and how it went. So this is the Ford Transit EV by Lightning Motors. That was really cool, but I wanted the factory tour. There we go. So he did it over on the under Inside EVs because he works for them as well. But if you want to take a look at that later, I think it's like an hour. Yeah, it is an hour 8 minutes. But I found it to be very, very interesting. They cover how they make their wiring harnesses, how they do the takeout engines, what they'll do for bodies. Like they don't just do vans. They have a couple buses in this video, like straight up buses. Like one was being made into a motorhome, and the other one was like a band van, which is really cool. Yeah. So this one is kind of counter to what we discussed last week with Tesla, and something I just don't get, that year after year they can have this juxtaposition of ratings. So over at Drive Tesla Canada, they're reporting that Tesla achieved a perfect rating as the most LGBT place for the 7th year in a row. And so what am I referring to is like, how can you get this right, but then constantly be under lawsuits from employees in the government for other forms of discrimination? It's like, can't you take the folks who made this right and then have them teach the other group how to not be buttheads?
Good point.
But I do want to commend them on this because they've been getting perfect scores for the last 7 years in a row, and in this country that is saying a lot right now. Not just in this country, in the world really, but in this country we have a particular problem with it right now. Russia does too, but they don't have Tesla plants in Russia, so. So that's what I mean by worldwide. Like worldwide, it's not where it needs to be for human rights, but here in this country, we need to do better. And Tesla did good here, and I give them kudos. And maybe other folks can learn as well. I mean, people just want to live their lives and be left
But
alone.
like you said, it's great. It's great that they're doing this.
Yeah.
But then it's disappointing on the other end of the spectrum when they're not doing right. So they need to you know, we need to give them praise when they do well, and then let it be known when there's room for improvement as well.
Yeah, and Elon asks you to do that if you work for them. It's like, hey, if you see something that's messed up, let me know. Don't worry about finding the chain of command, but don't just say, hey, that's broken. He wants a solution. So if you work for Tesla, don't just say this sucks. Say this sucks. Here's how to fix it, and then let him decide what to do. So let's go back to West Virginia again because I couldn't help it. So this is the exact same bill, but this is coming from a different outlet, different angle. Ford Authority is saying that Ford OTA updates to owners could be banned in West Virginia. And Ford does OTAs. Like, they've done, 3 on the Mustang Mach-E? And, well, if West Virginia has their way, it could stop. Which is kind of interesting because Ford actually has dealers, which means their dealers are part of the problem in this case. Because
right, but see, I really think that it wasn't a problem when Tesla was the only one doing it. It became a problem now that Ford is doing it.
Right. And so
it's the dealerships that see the problem, and the dealerships are the ones saying, hey, wait a minute, this is cutting away from our profit. We want to bring those Fords into our dealership so we can decide, hey, you need that upgrade. We need to apply it for you. And by the way, we're going to charge you a couple dollars for that. Right. Oh, and by the way, while you're here, look, we inspected your vehicle. We think you need this, this, and this. Why don't you get this done while you're here and get that done while you're here?
You need blinker grease.
Right.
All right, so this Montana man is interesting. He says, that's fine. I couldn't care. I take my truck to the dealership for no cost update. Yeah, but this guy clearly hasn't driven a vehicle that can OTA. Like, once you don't have to go to the dealership for minor crap, you don't want to go back.
Right.
Oh, he does also get it. So he doesn't get it, but he does. Or I buy my truck out of state, have it serviced out of state, whatever's necessary to serve up a double heaping of spite to the heavy-handed government control. So I agree and disagree with him. Because I would be that petty. Oh, okay. I'm going to North Carolina for a bit, or sorry, Virginia for a bit. Yeah, I'll be back.
This is the last thing that West Virginia really needs to do.
Among other things, they've got a whole
I
bunch of
mean,
other stuff
they
to go
they
over.
have enough problems in their state. I mean,
Yeah,
just to try to make things, even less appealing for people to like move into that state. It's just
same guy says obsolete. Hopefully before hitting the governor's desk. Yeah, that's what I was suggesting. Any recently graduated constitutional attorney would work. Would go after that before the ink could dry. Absolutely, that's what I was saying. Why Tesla should just trip it on purpose. And and let's see, if Walmart can put groceries in my car, dealerships can have an area where I pull in to get your update at a time of your convenience. Why do you have to go in? It's software.
it's software. Why am I going in? Why am I inconveniencing myself going in somewhere when it's like I could just hit a button, apply, and then go to sleep and wake up in the morning. It's already done. Or whatever.
Government and corporate America have already invaded too much of our private space. The intelligent move forward would be to allow the customer the option to opt in or out of remote access. Yeah, but that's still against the law. They don't want the manufacturer in there. Like Omar said, I bet you it's because now that Ford and Chevy are doing it um, that, that they don't want you to do it. Because we saw Porsche's response was to just make you come into the dealership anyway, because they would rather have their dealers on their hand, and
Like I said, that's just to protect the dealerships. That's that's them getting
it's the
to the
only way. Yeah,
politicians. It's the dealerships getting to the politicians and saying, "Hey, write this law to benefit us."
exactly. David says he hears that the bill hasn't made it out of committee, so maybe it resolves itself. Maybe,
Hopefully,
but this is West
but
Virginia we're talking about. So if you are there, it's in your best interest to make sure that they don't let some big donor trample your rights. And yes, this is easy to resolve because it's unconstitutional. But we saw what Texas did, and they're still fighting that right now. So why go through all of this machination when you can just stop it in its tracks? Call your people up, say, "Hey, this is stupid. Do something important." like paying for these people to get jobs so they can get out of the coal mine. So let's move on to more fun stuff. So the Kia Telluride is very popular as a gas vehicle. How would you like it as an EV? The Kia EV9 electric SUV concept, the Kia Telluride does go electric. So this very much looks like the Hyundai styling to me. I would expect more curves on it to be the Kia, But that's just me.
I'm just glad they're going EV with it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm not complaining that it looks like the Hyundai, because the Telluride, like I said, is a very popular vehicle. So to have another large crossover SUV as an option than just the Model X and the Cadillac Lyriq and the Rivian R1S. This
And
is awesome.
large SUVs are still one of the market
Large
segments
crossovers. Large crossovers.
right, large
Yeah.
crossovers and large SUVs.
Yeah.
Both of those market segments are things that are not highly covered in the EV space right now. So,
Exactly.
and there's a large demand for them.
Yeah. I like how they caught it with the body dollies. So you could tell as a concept. They didn't even put a 12-volt battery in to roll it up like they did with the original Volt. But it's pretty. And I can see, like Elon says, prototypes are easy, so I can see them making this happen. Man, South Korea is a small country for an economic powerhouse. Absolutely. Same old damn SUV looks at Eddie. Eddie, it's what's popular. So what you're gonna have to do is
Eddie,
make a sexy car that people want to buy that's not an SUV, and then
well,
get one of these manufacturers to produce it, and they will do it.
you got to have cars in all market segments. So, yeah, the SUV, there's a place for that too. So, you can have your nice, really sleek, sexy cars, and you can have your SUVs and then your pickup trucks and everything else. We need all market segments.
Yeah, I think this could actually make it. I don't know if that yoke would make it, but it could. That dashboard, I can
It
see
won't,
that.
but I could see the rest of it making it.
Well, the VW has these pedals already, except there's say play and
Yeah, I
pause.
just don't. I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see them doing that steering wheel. I could
No,
see.
I don't.
I could see them
Maybe
doing
something
the
that looks
rest of
like
that.
it.
I just don't
Yeah,
see them doing that.
because
maybe something that
it
looks
defeats
like
the
it
purpose. It defeats the
The
purpose
concept
of
vehicles.
of a yoke.
no. I'm saying, yeah, because it's block. If you look at the top part of that wheel, it's blocking
That's
that.
true,
It just it don't make sense.
and I bet you that's as low as it goes too. Look at the way it's angled.
Right. So again, I don't see that happening,
Yeah,
and we all know that the concept vehicles never
very
make it to
rarely.
market looking the way that they looked as a concept vehicle. So we know there's going to be plenty of changes.
Yeah, like these headlights. They might happen, but I don't see them happening like that.
Nah, that ain't happening.
It is attractive
Those
looking.
wheels ain't gonna make it either.
No, those are gonna be hubcaps, like real quick.
Right.
All right, so you got all glass roof. There's no need for a hood scoop. It's an EV. Those are some normal looking wheels. They're not super fat like the Model X, so it's not going to be a race car like they've been showing off the EV6 racing Lamborghinis. I don't think they'll be doing that with this because those wheels are standard size. They're not. I mean, my Model X, she's got some big feet. I don't like the rear. The rear is like plain Jane. I like that, and that's not going to make it. It's going to be regular doors. There's no way they do. Like every single car that's got these, like makes one generation.
Well, BMW did it with the i3.
One generation. Honda Element, one generation.
Yeah, you're
Toyota
right.
FJ, one generation.
You're right.
All right, that's enough of that. It's a pretty truck, and I can't wait to see what it really looks like. David says very Trek looking. The yoke. Yeah, that's right. It does look like the new Star Trek. And it's so narrow though that like Omar said, it blocks the screen, and it's so narrow. I don't see them actually passing all the crash tests with that. So maybe something more like the Tesla yoke, or like we saw Toyota's knockoff in the BZ4X. Like they sometimes switch the wheel for a yoke. There's also rumors that Tesla will be allowing you to switch your order to a wheel when you buy the car. For all those people who are not open to trying something new, like
Oh, good. Is that going to be an option on the Cybertruck too?
maybe. Well, what I'm saying here is like the folks who are just I'm never going to use that. And they don't even try it before they say like literally you can just go down to the Tesla store and take a test drive, see if you like it, and don't just do like that guy in the YouTube where he just oh this sucks. Like drive it around the block for an hour. So while Giga Berlin's clone isn't going to happen anytime soon, the Giga Shanghai is expanding again, and it could open as soon as next month. Look at that. Like, they just expanded it. They're going to expand it again. After it's completed, Tesla could produce 2 million units in China alone. I tagged David on this one. Because he bet on our Tesla Live show that he bet there'd be 2 million cars. So, from China alone, looks like you are in the lead on this bet, man. I think I don't remember who was the most conservative. I was in the middle, kind of following Tesla's guidance. I think Mark was a little bit on the lower end of it, and then Patrick came in a little bit higher. And then David said, "Nah, to heck with it. We're gonna do 2 million cars." And well, he's the closest without going over, Bob. 2 million from one factory, baby. Wow. I thought that was really strong when you made it, but I mean you obviously were reading the tea leaves because 2 million from one factory, and that tagged you guys. and then Mark or Patrick, I don't know who did it here, said it'll be up and running before Berlin.
Well, listen, China don't mess around. They build fast,
Yeah,
and Berlin's been dragging their feet. So who knows? But
yeah,
I will say that Tesla has been like doubling their production year over year,
Yeah.
So it wouldn't shock me if they get this up and running and then start producing at that rate of 2 million a year. Like I wouldn't even be shocked.
Definitely. And China is already an established factory, so they probably wouldn't have to do too much ramping. It'd be literally just, hey, somebody get robot number 7 and run it through its paces. All right, somebody on line 12. All right, you're on 12 today from line 8, and then it's just ready to go. All right, so what we got next? Oh, this is fun. So Energy Wire is reporting that Tesla says we'll open our charging network for federal cash. That part in the headline seems a little bit off because when we look at what Elon said about how they don't need loans and they don't need,
I mean, is that what they really said?
that's what I'm saying, is because Elon said they don't need the government money anymore, but he didn't say they weren't going to take it. He just said they weren't chasing it. So let's see.
Well, here's
Yeah.
the thing: if everybody's getting federal money to expand, their charging networks and whatnot, why would Tesla not want to
Right.
partake in part of that?
It wouldn't be wise for to their shareholders if they didn't take free money. So here's the article there, so you can read through it. It was kind of dense there, but I wanted to discuss that. Yeah, so I they've done it in the past, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it now.
This was always what I thought what was going on when Tesla first said, "Oh, we're going to open up our network for everybody
Right.
to charge on it." I always thought that, okay, they're doing this because that's part of the stipulations in order to get the federal money, is
Right.
that your charging network has to not be proprietary. So that's why they were going to open it up for everybody to use. Like
Just
that
like we
was
saw in
always
the
what I thought.
Netherlands. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
I've always said that from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, and then Elon started his whole "we don't need you" thing, but I think that's just him spouting off. He does a lot of speaking without thinking, and it just makes sense if there's free money on the table and it doesn't tie their hands too much. Why wouldn't they take it? Because that allows them to then use the other money somewhere else in the business, acquire chips, design new
Right.
products.
And then they can take the government money and keep expanding their network even bigger, faster, and
Exactly.
use some of their own capital with, building more factories.
Yep. So as Dan and I keep saying, Drive Tesla Canada is worldwide. Uh, they're reporting that the first Giga Texas VIN has been assigned to a Model Y performance reservation holder with a March delivery date. Woo-wee. So the speculation was that cuts off at a quarter boundary, so they don't have to worry as much about the end of the quarter push. They can just start slowly getting them out there after they finish their quarter push. And there were a few, as he points out, there were a few dubious claims from other Model Y reservation holders they had received a VIN from Giga Texas. It looks like the first legitimate Austin VIN has been assigned today. One of them I joked about on the Tesla Life. I said, "Hey, I bet you now that he's published it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever that his vehicle goes from ready for delivery to 3 months to go." And somebody joked, "Let me get your name down." The lucky reservation holder is Jared Wolney, who shared a screenshot from his mobile app on Facebook showing a VIN from Giga Texas 7SAY GD Echo Foxtrot 9 November Alpha 00137. So there's actually some more people ahead of him that haven't shared on Facebook or Twitter that we know of.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Well, 137. I mean, I'm sure some of those numbers were probably,
Yeah.
internal ones that they had to make, that they had to certify the vehicles with,
Right.
crash tests and whatnot, whatever.
So the important digit is in the VIN is the A in the 11th position, which signifies it comes from Austin and not Fremont. So that would be an F if it was a California car, and that number would be much higher. There we go. That number would be much higher. Along with the VIN, he also has an estimated delivery window of March 1st to 29th. That's quite a window.
Let me take a look at my VIN number right quick.
So
Pretty sure I have an F in that spot. Let me see. Yep, I have an F in that spot.
And then your number is much higher.
And my number is humongous.
So now
232,000 and some change.
Yeah, mine is F and then my serial number. Well, shoot, my serial number is not secret. You guys have seen it in all the videos. But what is secret is my location. So I don't want to share my screen. There are a few other factors which lead to credence to the fact that this is a legitimate Giga Texas VIN. First is according to NHTSA's check digit calculator, the VIN is accurate, unlike the one that appeared earlier today. So somebody just made one up and then the hash didn't work? Oh, that's stupid. Why would you? Oh, man. It's so easy to check these things. The VIN also ends in 137, indicating this is a very early build from Giga Texas. He placed his order for performance just over a few weeks ago on January 19th, and he lives in Denver, Colorado. Like I keep saying, you're not going to get it in Texas. Supporting the fact that Elon Musk said Giga Texas will only supply the eastern two-thirds of the U.S. If this is a Giga Texas VIN, it indicates Tesla's planning to configure the 4680 cells in the structural pack to offer the same or very similar range to the current Model Ys at 2170s. How do you get that? Is that because of what he ordered? If this were not the case, there would be another option to select from in the design studio with a correspondingly higher price. Okay, so for now, at least, it seems like it will be the luck of the draw as to whether you get assigned a Texas-made Model Y. There is a possibility that what they'll do is, if they waste the time putting in extra cells, what you might see is an unlock, like we saw with the first Model 3s and some of the Model S's, where like, here's some more range and speed and everything, here you go. But since they're still cell constrained, even though cells aren't what's holding them back on making cars right now, chips are, cells cost money. And so I see them matching the output with a smaller battery. Like, not just the same size battery, but a smaller battery, because with the structural pack you can be lighter and still have the same speed, same output, same performance, everything. I think they're going to go smaller with the new packs. What do y'all think?
It would make the most sense for them to use less cells and have the same range, basically.
Yep.
And then even though it could even be a little bit smaller pack, it could still handle charging at the same speed as the larger pack because of the 4680 structure. What's up, Dawood?
What's up?
Long time no see.
Yeah, KC. Yeah. It's been a while.
Yes, sir.
So inspired, man. I haven't had a chance to have an EV conversation with anybody in a while. So I said, let me log in. Let me see if I got a few seconds to hang out with the fellas.
You do, absolutely. So,
but yeah,
what do you think about any of this stuff that's going on today?
Well, the topic du jour right now is I've just gotten into some Facebook fights already about the structural pack. And yeah, I don't think they're going to have this 600-mile range car. It's just going to be, you won't tell the difference.
Right.
It's going to be the same range. I imagine though, because this is structural, maybe the car might feel stiffer, maybe help, some performance improvement there. But other than that, yeah, it's just going to be the same. So it's going to be easier to make, easier to manufacture, less cells in, which means more profit for the Tesla.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Where I think we will start to see them take advantage of those new format is, I think what we'll see is maybe, like Marcus keeps saying, whenever they do decide they're going to do the Plus again, we're going to see 4680 cells in Model S with a structural pack, extra range, extra speed, extra power with the high nickel, because right now they don't want to put a lot of nickel in the Model 3 and the Model Y. They showed us this at Battery Day. They said high nickel is for the Cybertruck and the performance cars. They don't want to put it in the Model Y. And then they have the high iron. High iron even can be done in the 4680. So, if anything, if we keep the same weight, same size pack, I wouldn't be surprised to see them use 4680 iron cells in the structural pack. Because that'd be even cheaper. Yeah. David says, "Go Austin!" Robert says, "Yazoo time." I'm not sure what Yazoo is. I'm sorry. Yeah, so the other thing that allows them to do is if they have more cells to spin around, they can then put them in Tesla Energy. Because remember, they've got the Megapack factory about to open up. And so they have been shifting batteries around for years now. And they finally have been able to catch up with what they're able to do with the 4680s. And now what's holding them back is cells. So, or not cells, chips. So we'll see what happens in the year coming forward. But as Dawood was telling that guy, you're not going to see a 600-mile Model Y anytime soon, and definitely not for $0 extra. It's going to be, you're going to pay extra.
I don't think you're going to see a 600 Model Y, period.
Right.
It gets to a certain point where it doesn't even make sense to keep adding all that range, because you're just adding more batteries that you have to lug around on a regular basis that you don't really actually need.
Right. So to go back to my diesel guy at the beginning of the show, 600-mile range Model Y is 10 hours of the road at 60 miles an hour. And again, if you can find a road where you can do 60 miles an hour average straight, you can't really do that as a professional driver legally. So why would they then think that a non-professional is going to be able to do that safely as well? And then, like you said, there's extra weight, extra cost, extra everything. Why do that?
Remember, the average American drives 40 miles a day or less. So if your average daily driving is 40 miles a day, you don't need 600 miles. It's just way overkill. And then when you do take a road trip, like for me, I do drive. I've driven my car to California. I drive to Florida from the Northeast in America. I drive, right? But I take breaks.
Right.
I mean, biologically, I'm going to have to take a break. I'm not going to sit here and try to hold my bladder for a whole 8, 9, 10 hours on the road. Why?
Or dehydrate yourself ahead of time?
I don't need to torture myself or dehydrate myself and not drinking any water or anything. Why do that? I'm doing it while I'm on vacation or whatever. It's comfort. It's a matter of enjoying it, right? So to me, that's not enjoyable to sit there and try to torture yourself.
Right.
So
it's not.
And the competition. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we just did a 600-mile road trip this last weekend.
Yeah.
And you got to stop. And especially unless you're doing it exactly by yourself. I got 3 kids in the car. They're going to sit at the supercharger for 30 minutes. And then as soon as we pull off, that's when they say, I got to use the restroom.
Yeah.
So that's the lesson. Take the iPads away when you pull into the supercharger.
There you go. That way they have to go.
Say, all right, everybody, this is the bathroom break. Let's go. Everybody go. I don't have to go. Yeah, but you're going anyway.
You're going to go in there and look at the bathroom. Decide what you're going to do. But then you've got the other point is that the gas cars, they only have a 300 to 400 mile range at the most anyway. So this whole expectation of I need to be able to do 600 miles at a pop, part of that is, one, they don't actually do that, and two, they're thinking about their entire journey, not what their car can actually do. Mr. 1600-mile diesel has probably got 4 tanks in order to do that, or he's lying his butt off. One or the other. Yeah, exactly, David. 400 miles gives you 2 6-hour sessions with a supercharge at lunch, and that is the most human driver stamina. And if you're a professional with like a CDL, you are legally not allowed to do more than that.
Right. So why would you need more than 400 miles then?
That's what David's saying. You just need 400 miles.
It just doesn't make any sense, right? So a 600-mile Model Y, I don't see ever coming. I don't see that. And it just doesn't make sense for Tesla financials to do that, because you're putting in more battery than you need, and therefore you're cutting off some of your profit margin. It just doesn't make any sense.
Where I see them doing excessive range is in 2 places. I see them maybe if they bring the Plus back, just so they have a reason for markets to try to upgrade. Then the 2 places I really see them doing it are the Roadster for bragging rights. It's a halo car. It has to be the best of the best, even if nobody's ever going to use any of that stuff. And then the Cybertruck. Cybertruck and the Semi are going to need all they can get because you're going to be towing. However, with the Semi, you have legal requirements they have to meet, and the truck already maxes those out. Like, you can get yourself in trouble to the point where you lose your driver's license on the truck if you drive to the max of what the truck can do. It's set up so that you have a buffer, so that way you can drive your maximum amount, and then you land at a place at the megacharger, and the megacharger is designed to go just as fast as your brake is, so that way when it's done, or it's actually done before your brake is done, and then you can keep on going. But if it's got the digital logbooks and all that jazz. So the Cybertruck is the only one I see them because people are going to overload the thing and all that. So that's the other one I see them doing a ridiculous range on.
I agree. For towing purposes, having more range makes sense because then, you towing obviously makes a big difference on your range. But
yeah,
That's why that's where we going with it. I got an enclosed closed in trailer waiting to pull with the size of the truck. So
there you go.
a city
exactly.
near you to meet EV smoke.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so while we're talking about batteries, let's get really big. Let's talk about Megapack. Uh, Tesla's installed Megapacks on Alaska's Kenai Peninsula, and this is really cool because it's cold, as you see in the picture, just frozen. And,
Wait. But they said batteries don't work in the cold.
That's what they keep saying. So for the first time, homes in Alaska's Kenai Peninsula will no longer have to rely solely on gas turbines after Tesla installed 37 megapacks to provide power in the winter months. So this is exactly like we saw them do on American Samoa and several other places where they replaced diesel and gas generators and turbines with megapacks and solar. So Alaska's Kenai Peninsula is isolated from Alaska. It's cut off from the mainland power support for up to 4 months every year. That's incredible. So before Megapack, they had to rely on hydro and gas. The local power supplier, Homer Electric, used gas turbines to distribute power to the grid, and now they are taking the big step of installing the 37 megapacks and turning them on earlier this month. It's 93 megawatt hours and will provide voltage support, enhance grid stability, and reduce the gas burn in sub-zero temperatures. I thought they didn't work in the cold, right? Or
They don't work in the cold.
So for the folks who aren't catching our sarcasm and our joking, the Megapacks have onboard cooling and heating, just like the cars do, to make sure that they keep the batteries at their optimal level. And this level of grid support, we've seen this elsewhere in the world, where if you put it into a place that is connected, you can stabilize the grid like that, like we saw with the first Megapack installation in Australia. And then if you put it in a place that's either disconnected or semi-disconnected, like this is, you can actually just run off the Megapacks because they put out grid quality power.
Holy crap! Temperatures can plunge lower than negative 30 degrees Celsius in the winter.
Right there, yeah.
It's approaching absolute zero.
Right. They measure in Kelvin.
So how are they charging these megapacks? Is any of it going to be renewable?
I was hoping they would say that in here. Definitely from the gas turbines and hopefully solar. In the winter, this winter alone, the power company faced 2 major outages. In November, 2,700 people lost power, with another in December affected 7,000 people. And they're saying that 9,000 people without power, assuming there's no overlap, in negative 30 degree weather is deadly. So, okay, Tesla has their own. Let's see what Tesla said about how they're charging it, since these guys didn't. So here's a video with music. Oh, this is a Tesla video for sure. This looks like they're one for American Samoa. It's known for the pristine landscapes. Can we make this bigger? Yeah, we can. Temperatures as low as negative 30. Power to this area is cut off from mainland supply for up to 4 months every year. Usually powered by hydro and gas. Homer Electric has relied on gas turbines to distribute power to the grid. 93 megawatt hour pack was installed. So that's over a couple hundred megawatts of instant output. Megapack energy storage integrates with the existing energy infrastructure to provide voltage support, enhance grid stability, and reduce gas burn, even in freezing temperatures. So they didn't mention anything about how it's charged. So I bet you it just buffers their disconnect when they're off.
It probably charges up from the hydro, and it just
Yeah.
it acts as a buffer during peak load times when it's the coldest and people are using their heat the most.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yep, that was a Tesla ad. So Tesla does make ads. They just don't pay to put them on TV.
Right. Their advertising budget is super low. Not zero, but just super low.
Oil and gas have been a scourge on this planet for more than 80 years, i.e. wars and pollution. Unfortunately, I come from a generation that didn't have the intellect to figure this out, but neither did the world leaders. Hopefully, the next generation will change direction and harness energy from new technologies and disrupt the status quo right from the away from the ignorant. This is kind of what I was saying earlier about, why people do stuff for oil. It's not that they are stupid; it's just that they didn't know, and then they just don't adapt. I was hoping that this Tesla tell us how the thing is charged. So it's probably like Omar was saying, where it just buffers it, gets it from the hydro. I wonder if 93 megawatt hours is enough to get through a month, 4 months even. They've got to recharge it. Yeah. So some more battery news here. This one is coming from Tesla Oracle. Tesla celebrates production of 1,046,080 cells. Giga Texas produces the first 100 Model Ys, and GigaFest date announced by Elon Musk. So we talked about GigaFest. It was going to be April 1st. That Elon was trolling people. It's actually April 7th. Haha, if you bought
April
tickets,
Fools.
that sucks. Yep. Elon just cost you a couple $100 for a ticket change fee if you just jumped without the invitation. And but this is why I pulled the article up, is because they celebrate the production of 1,046,080 cells. That is incredible. And as we saw last couple of weeks, they've got the production equipment to do so in Giga Texas now. I don't know if it's operational or not, but it's there now. So Cato Road probably made all these million, which is incredible. Then I talked about Canada, but I didn't really show you anything. So, Drive Tesla Canada, they had the bit on. Oh, I did show you. I showed you about how to get the safety score. And then this guy says, "Speak of the devil." This is from his car. Telling him what he downloaded. No, that's a tweet. There we go. That's from his car. Request full self-driving beta. There you go. So, drive real careful, Steve. We'd like to see you out there on the beta in Canada. Hey, Steve, thanks for the follow. I featured your tweet in the post. There you go. No effing way. It's F and G. 2022.4.5.4 just started downloading at 10:25 Pacific. Just happened to get a downloading now notification as I was reading Drive Tesla Canada post. Yeah, I'm following them. It looked like I wasn't. I was like, what? So if you're in Canada, look for the software version, 2022.4.5.4. After it's installed, you'll have to read through the agreement, and then you can click Request Beta. Or I think it goes the other way. Request the beta, and then you read the agreement, and then you click Yes. Which is really cool. What do we got here? Says lighter car is better road tax. Exactly, better road tax and less damage to the roads. 2-ton limit. Yeah, not most, but many EVs today break that, like mine and the Hummer and and the what did we say, the Silverado. Milk, banana, and other flavors to add. Okay. Where did it go? One more than that. 60 miles per gallon, 21-gallon tank. Yeah. Use a Gatorade bottle. That's something we did in convoys back in the day, but it was definitely a habit. Yeah, no. No. Because then people want to just chuck it out the window, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's true.
Mountains, going up mountains can hurt your range, but going down the mountain can add miles to your journey once you get back to the flat. But you need 600 miles with FSD. No, you don't. You don't. You need a break. Stretch your legs.
That's sarcasm. That's sarcasm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, blood clots are nothing to play with. All right, so Tesla John. John says Ford radically. Oh, this is further. These guys are quoting Farley on what Farley was saying earlier, what we talked about with how they're trailing NIO and Tesla and tracking them. Farley also said these words: Ford needs radically different human talent compared with what it has now. And this is on him with the competing with Tesla. So right there. But to do that, Ford needs radically different human talent compared to what it has now. Farley said in a surprisingly candid interview with Rod Lausch. Ford's distribution costs are $3,000 to $4,000 higher than Tesla's. And that's with the dealer network. The whole point of the dealer network was that you could sell all your cars at once, you can get rid of them and not have to deal with it. So Ford is realizing, whoops. That's incredible. And for them to say it in public. We all know Tesla is a hardcore engineering company, hence why it has a competitive advantage, whereas old auto companies need to reinvent themselves overnight. It's an Elon Musk quote, or telling Elon Musk, one or the other. Current employees, did he just say we stupid?
He did.
Ford initially started the EV division to make some cars to meet emissions requirements, not to make good cars. This is true. The team then realized that their EV prototypes were good after they changed course to make good EVs. This is true. But then as this is all true, he then says that they need more work and more people to do it because they are not on track to do it correctly. Don't have a competitive mentality. Follow one, respect the other, and share the wealth. Nobody's wishing Ford to fail here. We're just reveling in the fact that they said this out loud, and we're glad that he is focused on the future. So, I mean, it's not a fight. It's like we're happy that they finally see the light. Am I wrong in that? Oh snap! let me not antagonize that guy. Levine is pretty brutal on Twitter. Am I? Does anybody else have a different take on the way I parse that?
No, but I like this comment here. The first step in solving a problem is acknowledging that there's a problem. So they're admitting and acknowledging, hey, wait, we have an issue here. And so that's good, though. It's good that they're coming to this realization, like, okay, oh crap, we need to change some things. We need to do some things to solve this.
Yeah, I heard about this on Rob
the ones that are super arrogant will never solve their problem, like Toyota.
Right. We don't need anything but hydrogen. We got
hydrogen.
Right.
Yeah, Rob Maurer talked about this on Tesla Daily, and he just the Ford boss is just realizing that we don't have the engineers. That Tesla went out to solve a problem and realized this is an engineering problem, and it's not about hiring more marketing people to make people think our EVs are better. Tesla said we need the engineers to make better EVs, and the market will work itself out.
Right.
You can't
exactly
get an engineer. It takes years to make an engineer, so there's only so many available. And Tesla went and got them.
Got them all.
Right.
So, I'm excited. This is going to be the future. We're not going to get those flying cars. Just forget your flying cars and your jetpacks. It's not going to happen. But the future is still going to be good. And also, if you've seen your neighbor's car with the bumper hanging off, do you want that person flying over your head? I don't.
No, but I could see electric autonomous drones flying people, like personal vehicles, sort of.
Yeah, I can see that.
Flying people to different locations.
But I also wouldn't want that because of the noise.
But I could see that as a service, being
right.
like a paid for service, kind of like limo service.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. I could see that happening.
There you go. All right, so let's see. Next up, we've got Troy Teslake. He does predictions with Tesla on data. So he says Tesla's order backlog is as follows based on current production rates and wait times. Fremont factory backlog is equal to 4 months and 11 days of production. Giga Shanghai's backlog is equal to 3 months and 20 days of production. That's the old data here. So here we go. We got a backlog of 33,000 units on Model 3 standard range, 15,000 on long range, 1,200 on the
So what you're saying is they need to drum up more demand.
No. They have more demand than cars.
Yeah, but the wait time's not a whole year anymore. So,
Oh, I see what you're
so
saying.
they clearly need to drum up more demand, right?
No, they need to catch up. So 82,000 car backlog in Canada and APAC for the Model Y. 18,000 for the Model S long range and Model S Plaid. 30,500
Ooh.
backlog for the Model X. At 2,000 per
Yeah.
week. 2,000 per week.
That's because Elon's making bonehead decisions and stopping production.
Right.
Yeah, he shouldn't. That was a mistake, stopping production on the Model X when there was still clearly a lot of demand for it.
So they
Right.
are 15.
I mean, I understand he did that to try to
Yeah.
make changes to the line and all the other changes and stuff that he had coming through, but that was a mistake.
So they are 15.25 weeks of Model X production behind schedule, and actually let's double that because Model X and Model S are actually built on the same line. So they are 30 and a half weeks behind on Model X. That
So you're
lines up.
saying we need more customers.
Hey, let me ask you: do you think when the world shut down, they had some play in this too as well, though?
Yeah, it did.
Absolutely, there was supply constraints. There's all types of issues with the supply chain because of that. So yeah, that absolutely had.
But them straight up canceling their most profitable car was it didn't help. Like they went to zero. Like this chart says 0, 0, 0, 0.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ooh.
That was a mistake.
That was a boring bonehead decision. All right, so let's look at Shanghai.
Especially-
130,000 units behind, and 109,000 units behind on the Model Y.
Golly.
Well, especially when they kept their chip orders for the other cars, where the other manufacturers canceled all the chip orders, you'd think they would have used that same logic and just kept pushing forward. But
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, at least that was the smart move that they did, was they kept their orders in.
Yeah.
When everybody else was canceling orders, no, they kept their orders, so that was good.
Yeah. And then we saw with the trucker protest that actually shut down a couple plants in Detroit because they couldn't
Oh
get
yeah.
parts across the bridge.
Yeah.
So everybody's hurting, but we can see Tesla's numbers. Oh, we can see the other people's numbers too sometimes, but they get a little harder to track because they've got multiple things slowing them down here. Yeah. So then we've also got Tesla Scope is also seeing folks get that Canadian build. The ability to request full self-driving beta in Canada is now available starting in 2022.4.5.4. Matt A is asking if anybody else has seen this yet. I'm in Canada. Install it now. Yes, click yes. I haven't. I'm hoping this is real. Very disappointed if once the update is done, it's not FSD. So, both these guys have Model X. Matt A has a Model X.
Interesting.
And Mr. MX, or sorry, not Mr. MX. Prometheus MX has a Model X. I don't know if it's a Mr. or not. Don't want to assume it's gender.
Nah, don't do that.
It's partially installed. Got it finally. Easy entry. Their name is Easy Entry. Nah, I don't use Easy Entry because for me it always ends up crushing stuff. Either me or something behind the seat.
You say you don't use it?
I don't use it. Yeah, I'm gonna request 42 times. I can't wait until you get it. Oh boy.
42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll catch you on the flip side. Also, thanks again to Zach. Thank you, David. You too. Oh yeah.
Cool.